We're live?
Well, that's nice to sneeze in the middle of that.
Oh, your sinus is going to feel awesome. And I mean that generally.
Yeah. Well, I've been sneezing a lot all day, and yeah, that wasn't good.
Because the best my sinuses ever felt is after having to go through the gas chamber in the Marine Corps.
Well, they didn't go through my sinuses.
Oh, okay.
I just spit it out real quick before it did. You don't want 100 proof going through your sinuses. I wouldn't be able to talk right now,
No.
or I'd be screaming. Some of it went through because my eyes are watering like a bitch. All right. Fuck you. We're trying this again. There we go. That's how the men do it. All right. I am recording.
Tell your friends you're listening to the Verhoeven Effect podcast. I'm Conlon.
And I'm Nathan, your failed alcoholic tonight.
And we
Can't
have
keep the booze in my mouth.
and we have another very special episode. We have the 1975 film Dog Day Afternoon. Nathan, do you have a history with this movie?
I have watched this movie 4 times in my life. And I watched it when I was like 12 years old because I thought it was like, I was thinking like, oh, bank robbery. This will be exciting.
Yeah.
And I remember finding it like, oh, I want those guys to get away in the end. They seem sad. That's what 10-year-old me thought is like, man, I wish they would have got away with it. They seem like sad people. And then I watched it. This is one of our film studies classes. So I had to watch it and write a report on it. Um, mainly it was about like, um, how the story developed and it's like this was like telling a non-fictional story in a fictional format type stuff. So that's what I remember of it. I was trying to look up the paper I wrote because I always got good grades in that class, but I think it was because I was mostly bullshitting. So, and I also read the book and like, oh yeah, this, and I would just write it down. You have a good grasp of the material. It's like it's what's in the book. It's what it says.
I've never actually like watched this front to back. I heard about it because people talk about this movie all the time as being like kind of like a like one of the most natural movies. Like it's just capturing an aura of like real life better than what most movies do. And so, um, it's like I don't know. Like I almost think about this as like a reverse Michael Mann movie, where instead of like it's about like professionals like using tools in very specific ways, it's all about like what emotionally happens to a person in a situation.
Yeah, yeah. There's not like a lot of professionalism on display in this movie. There's a lot of like well, there's some understanding, but there seems to be like everything can go wrong, can go wrong, will go wrong.
Yeah. Came out December 25th, 1975. Which I guess, yeah, I'm not. That must have been beyond award season. Oh, I guess maybe. I guess any release in December, I guess it'd be up for awards. Yeah, I'm not sure. Or would that have been? That would probably have been. Yeah, when's Christmas? What?
December 25th.
Okay, so it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, take the family, take the kids.
Also, I just really remember the what I remember most about this movie is the box art, which is kind of captivating but doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah, it just looks cool. It's like I want to watch this movie, but it doesn't really explain like what's going on in this movie.
And I think I probably conflated it at some point with like Dog Day Afternoon and Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah,
It's like that's a robbery, right?
yeah.
um, and of course, just Sidney Lumet, one of the best filmmakers. Of course, he directed this. I'm not sure what kind of budget he had for this. Like, the stuff I remember about it seemed to think like this was a pretty low budget movie. Um, but still a studio movie. Just
Yeah.
um,
Well, just a performance driven movie without, basically it happens in two places.
yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Also, he's got Pacino on board, and that's coming off of Godfather, so he probably had a blank check maybe to do
Yeah.
this movie. I'm not sure. He just chose not to. I think this because I read the Sidney Lumet autobiography he wrote called On Movies, which is also something that Vin Diesel suggests all the time if you want to learn about movies.
Okay. I'll
uh,
take that.
because I think they worked together. I think there was a movie they did together called Find Me Guilty, and I think that was a
Okay.
later Sidney Lumet movie. Is it Lumet or Lumet? It's
I
probably
always
meant.
pronounce it Lumet.
Okay, it's probably meant to be Lumet. I've always heard Lumet, so I never actually like. I probably literally look up a YouTube video right now that has him pronouncing his own name, and I never looked it up. So whatever.
Yeah, I've always Sidney Lumet is what I've always heard it, and how I've heard it discussed. So,
We like half mentioned Murder on the Orient Express, which he did. He did that one, but he has a really varied career. 12 Angry Men, Serpico. You're going back with Pacino.
yeah,
One of the later ones he did was Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, which I think he was like 80 when he made that movie, or 80,
right.
or no, close to 90s or something like that. He's still making movies. That's a good movie. So,
Yeah, my go-to Lumet was always Network.
oh yeah,
The things I pull out of that all the time, and it's still a movie that like you could make that movie today, and everyone would be like, yeah, it tracks.
um, oh yeah, Failsafe.
Yep.
Yeah, if you just look up what he made a ton of great movies. So
That's another one of those. I like that movie, maybe not as much as Doctor Strangelove, but almost as much.
yeah.
Mainly
Yeah.
for the
Well, yeah, it's like it's only seen as like a less than movie because you directly compare it to Doctor Strangelove. It's still a good drama, but like Doctor Strangelove is such a new and different thing. And when you look at movies from the '60s, like almost none of them like survive scrutiny, but Doctor Strangelove does.
What I like about and I know it was based on a book too, so but what I like about the way the screenplay was written was Walter Matthau's character is kind of the warmongering professor. And when you contrast that with all the people in Doctor Strangelove, it's like, yeah, but Walter Matthau's not being a caricature. It's like it's how these people actually think. Like in Doctor Strangelove, it's like they're all sort of over the top because that's just kind of how that movie is. But in Failsafe, it's like, no, this is like I've read people's reports like this from the '60s about this is how you win, and it's like, oh no, they believed it too. They never put it to the test, but they did believe it.
And the endings are so different because in Doctor Strangelove, the world ends and it's hilarious.
Yeah,
And then Failsafe, they have to drop a bomb on New York themselves, and it's like that's so somber.
yeah, they basically trade Moscow for New York, because it was, yeah, yeah. Failsafe was not. Yeah, it was dark, and it just ended.
Yeah.
It just ended with a scene. It ended where it began, a man dreaming about a bullfight. And it was like, huh, okay.
Cinematographer, this was Victor J. Kemper, who's done stuff,
Oh yeah.
This is probably the first movie on his list that I recognize. And then the other movie that we've done of his, he did Slapshot, which he'll go on to do lots of comedies and family movies as well. So,
Oh yeah.
Tacoma, The Eyes of Laura Mars,
Okay, that's a weird one too. Yeah.
The Jerk, great movie.
Yeah.
The Final Countdown. What's Xanadu?
I'm
I feel like I've heard that name, but I actually don't know what it is.
It's like I think it's like Olivia Newton-John. It's like a musical rock.
Okay.
Feature.
He did National Lampoon's Vacation, Cloak and Dagger, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes.
That's an incredible movie to be a director of photography for.
Yeah, because that movie has a very unique look to it.
Yes. um. Yeah. After that, yeah, I did Clue. I did Clue the same like a year. No, same year as Pee-wee's Big Adventure. After that, he kind of goes downhill after that. He's doing like the sequel to FX. Do you remember that
FX,
movie?
yes. The Art of Illusion.
He did Beethoven, did Tommy Boy.
Yeah.
He's just doing at this in the mid '90s. He's kind of just doing comedies. I don't know. He must You got to retire at some point, so yeah, might as well take a cushy gig, I guess. Everyone's got a job. Everyone's got kids to feed. Everyone's got to put kids through college. Whatever. Because he ends his career doing like straight to video sequels of comedy. He does like American Pie Presents Band Camp, so it's a straight to video American Pie movie,
Okay.
and then Bring It On, All or Nothing.
That's like cheerleaders, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But yeah, did good work. Seemed to got a lot of work. Can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's so you died at 96.
Yeah. So yeah, good life.
Had a good life. I mean, let's see, he died in 2020. So he died this year, like the day before my birth or day after my birthday. He died November 27th, 2023. So
This is written by Frank Pearson. This is an adaptation of a Life article called "The Boys in the Bank,"
okay,
which they originally going to call this movie, but Sidney Lumet hated that, so he wanted to. Which I was wondering if that was a takeoff. There's a movie. Well, I know it's a movie. I guess it's actually a play because I know this from Friedkin. He did a movie called "The Boys in the Band," which is a movie about like a group of gay people. So I'm wondering if that was honing in on that thing there.
that could be. Yeah, it could be. Maybe they didn't want to be associated with that.
Um, but I think it's like, no, it's about a bank robbery. If you put boys in the title, everyone's just going to think it's like a family movie or
Yeah.
something like that, or a comedy. um, but yeah, so there. Yeah, Frank Pearson, he's kind of like a combination, like producer, writer, TV guy. But some of his big Hollywood stuff is he did like Cool Hand Luke, Presumed Innocent. He was a producer on like a handful of Mad Men episodes.
Okay.
He did 105 episodes of Have Gun Will Travel.
It's like a Western, right? From the
Yeah.
60s. Okay. Oh, he did A Star Is Born. Oh,
Yeah.
well, that made a bunch of money then.
Which is, I think that's is that the movie or the TV version?
This is the one.
No, this is a TV.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's like based on something, right? Because in the movie, there's a marquee for A Star Is Born, and this precedes the Star Is Born movie coming out.
Oh, well, he did the one. This is the one with Streisand and Christopherson in '76.
Yeah, but so like in the movie Dog Day Afternoon, there's a marquee for A Star Is Born, so that must have been like a theater play or something before that.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
But yeah, he has interesting. Oh yeah, he did Cat Ballou, which I only know about that because I was looking up stuff for um, Jane Fonda, and that was like one of her like early weird comedy westerns she did.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this guy also worked on Naked City. I think the last guy did that too. Huh. Yeah, yeah. There's kind of an intersection of TV writers and stuff in some of these '70s stuff we've been doing. We haven't necessarily been doing like the '70s movies everybody knows and loves and are lauded for. We're kind of doing like just a kind of odd set of '70s movies. Although this one is very celebrated, and I don't know what we'll bring to it, but I just I want an excuse to watch it. So, at some point in this podcast, we're gonna watch Lawrence of Arabia because I only know that as being a good movie, and I've never seen it.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone's like, you should probably see that movie. It's like, oh, I guess I'll use it as an excuse one time to watch this movie. And I know the preamble on this podcast is like, we're, talking about like usually B movies and what they mean, but you can apply the Verhoeven Effect to anything, good or bad.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't have to dig so deep.
Yeah.
It is what it's saying.
The cast is Al Pacino, John Cazale, and Penelope Allen, and a bunch of other people popped up that I was like, wait, they're in this?
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, we got Act One. We get titles. What you're about to see is true. It happened in Brooklyn, New York, on August 22nd, 1972. We get shots. A shot opens on a ferry crossing the water. We get shots of life in New York or Brooklyn. I don't know. Brooklyn is across from the Brooklyn Bridge. It's technically on Long Island. So is Queens. That's all I know about the geography here. You got the Manhattan Island, where it's like everything about New York is usually there, but then everybody lives on Long Island because that's the place you can afford. And the further you go the further you go east on Long Island, basically the less dense it gets. But it's New York City, so. Um, and then there's Staten Island is in there somewhere. I mean, I don't even remember. Staten Island's like a weird place. I don't even remember where it is. I just know it's like it is literally an island, right?
Yeah.
And it's in around New York City, but it's got its own kind of weird culture and because I think that one guy made that movie. I think Bill Burr's in it too. The King of Staten Island.
Okay.
It's got that guy from the guy that dates all the hot chicks that was on SNL. And his
Oh.
dad died in 9/11.
Yeah. What was his name? Can't think of his name.
We'll just type King of Staten Island. And it is Pete Davidson.
Pete Davidson. Okay.
I don't know what his career is now. He just seems to be famous for being famous, and he does a lot of TV commercials. He has like a Taco Bell commercial, a Smart Water commercial. He's got a ton of TV commercials.
He seems like someone who everyone wants to try to characterize as he's self-destructing, but yet he seems to be fine at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of got that Keith Richard flair to it, where it's like, is he dying? It's like, no, he's fine.
Yeah, having a good time. I remember what the last days of Opie and Anthony. Pete Davidson was he was really young then. He must have just been. This is before Saturday Night Live, so. Because they would have his on, because his unique thing was like, yeah, my dad died in 9/11. That's weird. That happened so long ago. We got a guy on the show whose dad died in that.
The other famous person I know of that is her name in WWE is Zelina Vega. Her dad also, and they have like meetups of like children who are survivors of people who died in 9/11.
Wow.
Yep, and this is 70s New York, and so like we expect, this looks like total garbage.
This is why, like, the movie Escape from New York made sense.
Like I know I've been saying like America looks like garbage in the 70s. Like it would continue to look like garbage well into the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Like it looks kind of clean now. You can go find the garbage places in America. It's just like it's like cleaner apocalypse. It's like, oh right, the streets are clean, but everything's still falling apart.
Yeah, I mean it's like it's like the castles of the old royal families in Europe. Like they look cool on the outside, but really the roof's collapsing. It's like now we're just hiding the fact that the roof's collapsing.
And I don't necessarily know like did like get people getting into recycling change anything? Or is it like the other thing I was trying to think about was like, is all this garbage and dilapidated buildings, is this all like just some kind of like what do you call that? Like real estate developer like kind of shenanigans where it's like they buy a place for cheap and they just like force the government to like tear it down and pay them for the privilege of the government tearing it down for them or something like that, or trying to get other people like to buy the land off them to actually develop it for a really high cost. Because of course New York is full of scumbag real estate agents and stuff like that, or no, what do you call that? Yeah, real estate agencies or whatever. whatever Trump is. Whatever.
Well, Trump's like a developer of commercial real estate. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, real estate developer. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I know like this the New York in the 70s and 80s was basically the city was going broke,
Yeah.
and so they couldn't really, and the services they had to maintain like police, fire, and all that were hugely expensive, but the city was like just dying internally. It was like, yeah, one more downturn in the economy because it was kind of the end of the wave of the move to the suburbs because no one wanted to live in those cities anymore like that.
Yeah.
And then I mean that all turned around with like tech and all that. It's like just new money came into the economy from
Well,
different areas.
no, it was, well, I mean, the one big thing is when they started to make it that you could trade against like pension funds and the what do you call that? The mortgage market.
Yeah.
That basically added trillions of dollars to the stock market, and that's why you had a boom in the 80s technically. I'm like, oh, there's all this money to go around, and then it's like, oh, why is Japan buying everything in America? It's like, oh, we don't know. Must be worth something. It's like, really? Like, no.
Yeah, because in Japan, they thought Japan was going to own the world in the 90s.
No.
And then they had the lost decade from 2000 to 2010. And after that, then they had the extended death or whatever they call it now. Or they essentially like have an economy, but it doesn't grow. It's just dependent on trade exclusively and kind of, someone explained it once how it works.
But basically tricked Japan into buying real estate in America, and then it wasn't worth anything. And so then they had to get rid of it. And then it became worth something. And then like the last two or three or four, whatever, housing booms and busts, we've like tricked the Germans into it.
Yeah.
to taking the whole bill.
Yeah, and the Russians wanted to buy in too. That's why Putin had all those people here spying. It was like, I want to understand the American real estate market. There must be a secret there. It's like it can't just be a scam. And then everyone's came back. It's like it's a scam. No, it can't be a scam because this is because Russia wanted to build like a Norwegian economy.
Yeah.
Where it's all just like extraction and then buying into the American stock market, which is how Norway works. Is they make money selling oil and timber, and then they have this public trust money that's managed by the government where they just invest, like you said, in our pension plans and stuff. Because that's why people always talk about like, yeah, what happens if America becomes a purely socialist country? It's like, oh, it'd be the most selfish thing in the universe because then all these other countries would die. They're all bought into our Wild West capitalism. Like if they don't have that anymore, they just become really poor again. It's like, oh, okay. But that's one theory. I don't know if that's true.
I mean, it's the same thing where it's like people think like China's going to overturn America and like China doesn't need an America. It's like, no, China only exists with its profitability because America exists.
Yeah.
It cannot exist currently how it does, or if it operates correctly at all, without America.
Yeah, you got to remember like the staggering difference in person per dollar parity that exists between China and America because they have twice as many people as we do.
Yeah.
Literally, and in a roughly the same size land area also, keep that in mind. And so it's like, yeah, you got to understand like it takes, but also a bunch of their economy or a bunch of their people are like, I think the average person over there is 50 now or something.
Yeah,
like the average age. It's crazy. It's all out of whack. But it'll straighten itself out and the future will be fine. But yeah, New York, I remember like, who was the mayor at this time? Who would have been? Would it have been Koch or I forget, or Wagner? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, New York was like continuously like taking loans and floating bonds and to keep itself afloat. And then like half the city was a whorehouse too. That didn't help, and heroin and drugs were everywhere. And see what another thing New York did is they got rid of all the poor people. They're just like, leave, go away. And then all of a sudden it's like really expensive to live there, and everyone's paying taxes, and it's like, hey, New York's great. It's like, yeah, anywhere is great if you got millions of dollars.
It says here that in 1972 John Lindsay was the mayor.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know who that is. That's the issue that came up here. So.
I've heard of him. He was one.
I remember Mayor Koch because I remember like The Simpsons and people used to make fun of him. And, like, I don't know who that is, but people seem to be happy for him to be made fun of.
As I remember, it was Koch that like literally mortgaged New York.
Okay.
And I think that was when Reagan became president, and like just as they took out loans, like that's when Volcker decided, well, we'll let the market determine the rate, and the rate was 21%. And it's like, oh, how are we going to pay that off? You know, but I'm not sure. I know there was. It's such a complicated machine, but yeah, I remember hearing some things about, there's a reason New York was that way, and there's a reason it's not that way now, and a lot of it has to do with just getting rid of all the poor people and also making it prohibitively expensive to live there for normal people. And it's like, oh, look, it's wonderful. And it's like, well, that's why they always talk about, the cops there make like $100,000 a year. It's like, yeah, and they're living like shit too. Or they inherited the house they live in from their great grandfather, and they can barely pay the taxes on it. It's like, yeah, it's not an enviable place to live. It's just cool.
Unless they get one of those weird circumstances where they're in like a rent control place or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't even understand how.
No, because I know there's like tons of like comedies and dramas that are built around like people trying to murder somebody with like a rent control apartment and trying to take it over and stuff. Like, is that how that works? Like,
I don't know. I just, that stuff. I think there's only a few cities in America where stuff like that even exists. So.
Yeah. Well, I know like the heating in New York is like, well, I think it's free, but everybody has the same heating. They're just steam pipes run throughout all of New York, and like there's like just like those what do you call them? The registers with like the loops on it or whatever, the radiators.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And that's, everybody has that in the house. And the heat's just on. And then like if you want to adjust the heat, you just open a window.
Yeah, I don't we lived on the outskirts of that. We lived in the suburbs, so.
Yeah, I've only read like, because there's podcasts where people talk about living in New York, and then like that's kind of like the weird quirk about it. It's like, oh, it just, everybody has the steam heat that they can't control because it's like a city, what do you call that?
It's just a citywide network.
Yeah, but it's like provided by the city. It just goes, and you can't adjust it.
Wouldn't surprise me, because I know like it's like a city, like if all the infrastructure was just established in stone and concrete in like 1910. It's like, well, we can't do anything else. So what we're doing is what we're doing. Because there's people there that like want high-speed internet and stuff, and it's like, well, you can't get it because they'd have to jackhammer up the street to install that. So you've got to bundle your utilities together until they all fail at once. Then they'll jackhammer up the street and put that in.
Oh, I love the amazing engineering that has to go into. It's like, we got to build this new subway. It's like, where? Like underneath the old subway. Like, how the fuck does that work? And it's like, here's how. It's like, that seems impossible and expensive. And they're like, yeah.
Oh yeah. It's $1 million a mile.
Because I was always wondering, like in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're just like hanging out in old train stations. Like, does that happen? And it's like, yes, that happens. There's just old abandoned subways in New York.
Yep, they just close them off. Time capsules of earlier time.
And that seems crazy to me. It's like, use every space. Like, why would you ever close something down?
Well, there was a documentary I think I watched on YouTube. It was called The Dig, and it was all about the dig through Boston, where they ran the freeway through the middle of the city. Like the 3-level freeway and the bridge and everything. It's the most expensive road project ever done in American history. I think in the world's history.
Huh.
I think the only thing that was more expensive was maybe when the Russians built those train stations the train lines that ran to southern Russia to the other side of Russia.
Yeah. Trans-Siberian Railroad.
Yeah, I know. Like that's like I think that's the most expensive or the most time consuming or whatever human project. But I think the dig in Boston was like close to that just in cost.
Yeah.
And you're like, why did it cost that much? Why did it go like triple its budget? And then you look at what they had to do and how they had, because they had to keep the city alive while they were doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we're going to knock out the old infrastructure. We're going to build temporary infrastructure within that. And then as this new thing comes along, we're going to knock out the temporary infrastructure, but integrate it with the new thing as we keep moving. And it's like, oh my God. And then you're finding like, oh yeah, we're going to put this on the pilings that were, established when America was part of the British Empire. It's like, oh wow, okay. That's and we're going to have thousands of guys in motion all at the same time, just digging and tunneling, and yeah, it's massive. There's a reason they've never, because they wanted to do something like that in a lot of those size cities all over the country, and they because you got to remember Detroit's bigger than Boston in size, like an area. Like Boston's a small place, but after they did that one, they're like, nope, we can't do this, and because they wanted to do was it Wichita, or there was a couple things they wanted to do that kind of plan in, because it really did like streamline travel.
Yeah.
But wow, it was like you'll never do that again.
Well, I remember it was like people talk about like Phoenix is like, this is how a city would be built if you didn't have to like worry about like a previous city being built. Like, it's just everything's in a grid and it's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all symmetrical.
The eternal city. Yeah.
You don't have like some weird diagonal thing running into a circle or running into a pentagon.
Yeah, this city doesn't radiate out like bacterial growth in an auger plate human cities do, or it just randomly went this way or that way, or it's shaped around a river or something where we don't have to deal with that. So yeah, it's like New York's a weird place in America because that's the old world in America right there. You know, that's where it all started, and you're still stuck with that infrastructure then and now.
And you got where it's like so I only know about this recently, but have you heard of Battery Park?
Yes.
And it's just like they just added land to the island and built stuff on it. Like that was just water, and then they built an extension onto New York.
Poured rocks into the sea, pressed them down. Well, the Japanese built an airport.
Yeah,
putting it out on, and it's sinking now. It's going under the water.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are they going to do now? They're going to build like a wall around it. It's going to get really Blade Runner in Japan. It's going to be like high walls and you're living behind it, but on the other side there's ocean like 50 feet above your head.
It's like that time lapse in the Expanse where they have to keep the Statue of Liberty standing and they have to build a giant infrastructure to keep the sea out.
Oh yeah, it just keeps going higher and higher.
Yeah, and then we got a street sweeper going by. Just know that they're sweeping around the garbage and putting the garbage into the middle of the street. So.
Yeah, they're moving the garbage from one side. We have a new one that runs through our neighborhood now. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because it's a hybrid. So it'll start on one end of the street, sound like just a street sweeper. And then all of a sudden it's like, woo, but it makes a high pitch because all you're hearing is the rotation of the cleaning brushes.
Yeah.
The bearings have a hum to it. So when the big engine shut off and it's just running on batteries, and of course it's got the LED outlights on it so they don't suck a cat up into it. So it's like, is that a UFO going by my house? Because half the time it's it sounds like, oh, the street sweeper's here, and then the other half it's like, woo, with weird lights facing the ground. So it's like, oh, it's floating by.
I'm not sure I've seen a street sweeper here. They probably have them. I mostly notice when they have like the leaf trucks going by and to pick up all the leaves. Like that's what I remember seeing. I don't remember street sweepers anywhere.
Yeah, they do that here occasionally. I can once a month. If it rains a lot, they're out a lot more. But yeah, we haven't, because you'll get a bunch of crap in the streets.
Well, because that's why I know. That's why I keep saying. Like I remember in the '90s, street sweepers everywhere, but everything was still garbage, and like I don't remember any street sweepers now, and there seems to be less garbage.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, in Michigan, just having the dime deposit on any lick or anything that holds liquid is like, yeah, you don't see bottles and cans everywhere.
Well, even I I used to just like, I had my own garbage can and I just throw stuff in. It's like, well, I'm done with this. This becomes garbage, and then like it's like, oh, why do I have so much garbage? And then it's, even though they have the lists and I basically already knew this, like I've now learned like all the things that you can throw in the blue container recycling container, because that's the big container. I was like, oh wait, I could have been throwing this in the recycling container the whole time, and that's a lot of crap you can throw in there.
Oh, our recycling container is twice as full as our garbage because they decided instead of giving us 2 garbage cans and making us pay $30 a month to have a recycling can that was optional, it's just like, let's give them 1 garbage bag and 1 recycling bag can for free. And it's like, now all of a sudden it's like, well, we don't need to fill 2 garbage cans up every week. But yeah, they always get that backwards.
Yeah.
And they turn around and they say they might go back to the old system because we only got the recycling cans because it was some government grant. Like, why don't we just do the 1 and 1? Why do we have to mix all that? But then you realize who runs the sanitation business. And you're like, oh, okay, that's why. It's the Sopranos are in charge of that. So whatever the Michigan version of that would be.
And we're showing like they're in front of this bank in Brooklyn. They're taking down the American flag, which I guess I didn't know. That, like, it's closing time for the bank. That's what that meant, because I didn't know. It was like, wait, why are they taking it down? Because it almost seems like it's early in the morning rather than the afternoon. But I guess, I can. Oh yeah, yeah. It says it's August, so the sun would have been out longer. But anyways, so a guy walks up. Like a guy with a fro. I read his name later on. It's fro guy for right now. He walks up and he scopes out the bank. We got Sal. This is played by John Cazale. He walks into the bank with a briefcase. We got Pacino shows up. He's Sonny. He walks in with a long gift box. Which I'm not sure. Did this start the whole we're putting a gun in a gift box thing?
I would imagine so. But didn't they do that in The Godfather?
Maybe.
So I remember it from Terminator 2.
Yes. And it was also in Hard Boiled. It's
Okay.
and I think they did a joke on it in Kindergarten Cop, but it's been a thing for quite a while. I mean, of course, always the famous thing is like a Tommy gun in a guitar case.
Yes.
Which was made the best in Desperado.
Yeah, it never came out. Directly from the guitar case, which was cool.
Well, no, the first guy had just guns in his guitar case, and then his buddies had the guitar cases are the guns.
Yeah. That's I like the guitar cases as the gun. It's like we're not even like doing some cool dismount on the guns. We're just firing from the guitar case, which I guess is a real thing.
Yeah.
You ever see the CIA Uzi?
Oh yeah, there's the briefcase with like was it an Uzi or was it like an HK or an ump or something like that or whatever?
Could be one of those style of submachine guns. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like, Forgotten Weapons. I've done a couple of episodes on it, and so, because he went to like the HK factory, and they're like, "Hey, check out this cool stuff."
Shoot this.
Let's see here. So yeah, I wrote. Apparently, it's closing time. The fro guy walks in. Sal quietly holds up the bank manager. He's got like some kind of submachine gun. Fro guy gets a bad feeling. Sonny hands like some paper to a teller. I'm not sure what it was like banknotes or what do you call those, like
deposit slips.
Deposit slips. Oh, I thought it had like hundreds on it. I thought it was like one of those traveler's checks or something he had. I'm not sure what the hell he had, but he had a bunch of papers, but and then he clumsily pulls out an M1 carbine from the gift box, which just like, this kind of sets a tone for the movie where it's just like, even though things have plans to it, like everything's clumsy and awkward, which makes it seem real.
Yeah, Sal is using the Smith & Wesson M74 again, which was in another movie we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's probably the same actual prop gun that was used in the other movie we're talking about.
Oh, okay. Oh, was that in The Getaway or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
okay.
The guy. Yeah, it was. That was the one. Yeah, the guy. So somehow these fully automatic machine guns came into the hands of this guy. The M1 carbine you can buy anywhere, but
Yeah.
to this day, have you ever heard one of those fired?
Uh.
Cacophonously loud.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really loud. I mean, some guys were on the range. I was like, well, are you shooting a 50 cal over there? Why is that so loud?
Oh, I think it's kind of a big bullet for how small the gun is.
Yeah, I think the
Cause
barrel's short
I
too, or
yeah,
like,
because I think it fires a 30-30 round, which is like a round used for like World War One machine guns.
yeah.
Because I think the most hilarious thing is like there's that it was on like Demolition Ranch. There's this company in the '80s made these really big handguns before they started putting out Desert Eagles. I mean, this is company's called
Oh,
Automag,
oh
and
yeah, they fired the 30. Yeah,
so they
okay.
have a 30-30 Automag, which fires a rifle round out of a handgun, and so it makes a huge fireball because it's not using like almost none of the the um the gunpowder to actually fire the bullet in any
Yeah, I
particular.
think somebody chronographed one of those, and it's like its actual muzzle velocity is about the same as like an AR-15 because it just can't develop any pressure behind it
Yeah.
because it's out of the barrel so fast. But it looks cool. I mean, if you were shooting that at night, that would be. It's like, oh, well, he's firing off artillery over there. It's a 30 caliber carbine round, so whatever that is.
And the other thing I know about M1 carbines is that they are great little rifles because they made. I don't know, that's like one of the most. That was like the most made rifle for American troops, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, they cranked those. Those went from. I think those saw a lot of service. In World War II, they saw a lot.
Because they weren't really meant for frontline guys. They were meant for like guys driving trucks and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
but I think by the Korean War, they were like more general issue
Yeah.
because they really started. Because I know they got longer as they went. They
Oh,
developed.
okay.
Because they were more meant for like general issue. Because they went from having like a 10-round box magazine to a 30 by the Korean War, and then I think they saw service through Vietnam.
And as far as I know, the history on them is that they were great guns, but the magazines were terrible because they were extremely cheaply made. So it's
Yeah.
like if your M1 carbine doesn't work, it's probably the magazine.
Well, the guys at the firing range that had them, they had, I forget who was making the magazines, but they're really expensive because the problem with the carbine is how the way it fed and the way the action worked, it would slap against the top of the magazine, so the welds would split.
Oh, okay.
So these guys they were firing a new 30-round carbine or carbine with they had different kinds of magazines, and the guy was saying, see how the wells cut out on the top? They couldn't cut that out like that with the metallurgy they had back then because it would be too weak, but now they can, so the mechanism doesn't slam into the top of it. It's like, oh, that's interesting. It's still way too loud for this indoor gun range, sir, but well, look, he was firing and it was just like you would jump 3 lanes away, like I'm actually shooting a gun and I'm jumping. So yeah, I wouldn't want to hear one of those go off that building.
Also, like gun collecting is way too expensive, but there was always one I thought like maybe it could be affordable, but I always thought it was neat because almost everybody made an M1 carbine, and so there are like stamped like made by Chevrolet or made by Ford Motor Company M1 carbines out there. It's like
Oh
that
yeah.
would be neat to have.
Yep.
um Anyways, he pulls out the M1 carbine and he tells everyone to step away from and not hit the alarms because he seems to have knowledge of how a
He
bank
worked at
works.
a bank.
Yeah, I mean, he says that. We have to just believe him, I guess. But um, doesn't seem like he's just like I watch television. This is what's going on. I mean, that's the weird thing with the Sunny character is that at all times he seems like an idiot, and also he's the only one that knows what to do and what's going on.
Yeah, that way he was strangely he was charismatic that way.
Yeah.
It's like I obviously don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to act like I do, and that's to, like, calm some of the people around me. Like, well, yeah, let him do it.
Fro guy is getting cold feet about holding up the security guard, and
Oh,
so
I love this scene.
so he lets it. They let him out of there. It's like all clumsy because like the guard has keys that they got to unlock the door and then lock the door again, and they gotta let him out. And there's like, no, you can't take the car. We need the car to get away. And like, oh come on, Sonny, I got. It's like no.
Take the subway. Give me the gun. Yeah, this guy's like, I can't do it, Sonny, and he's like, oh shit.
Also, like this movie just moves. Like I'm like, because
Yeah, we were 10 minutes into this movie and they're showing guns around the bank. It's like, well, this is just developed quickly.
well, like especially on the last movie with Tower Inferno, it's like, yeah, I'm like, okay, oh, what time is it? Look at the time code. It's like we're 8 minutes in. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ! And like around the time I didn't get that feeling. I was like, what time is it? I was like, we're 25 minutes in the movie. Like shit, we're almost done. Got 3 more of these and we're done. It's like, wow, this movie moves. Yeah, because we're basically just at the bank and we spend almost the rest of the movie there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a guy, oh yeah, it's Stevie, that's his name. He leaves the revolvers and the keys of the car. But as he runs out, he's like comes running back, and Steve's like, "There's a lady under the desk." It's like, okay, so Sonny gets the lady from underneath the desk. And here Sonny's trying to spray paint all the video cameras, which he's trying to use that as like some kind of leverage, where it's like, nobody will see anything. It's like, well, I don't know if that's how that works.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like going to a live feed somewhere is what he's worried about, or if he's like, we're gonna take the recordings. I don't know, but whatever.
I love the cameras as they appear in this movie, both the security cameras and the news camera.
Oh yeah,
it almost looks like a parody of old technology. Does it really look that way?
Yeah, it must. I don't know. It's like that. Yeah, especially when the news cameras show up. It's like, what man? What's the breakdown and how do those work? Because I don't know. Yeah, because that must all be just broadcast gear. So I think they're shooting on tape at that time, so they're not shooting film or anything like that. So it's got to be, and then that everything that goes with it must just be like the broadcast feed or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's where Sonny assures everyone, he's like, I'm Catholic, I don't want to hurt anyone. Yeah. And then yeah, Sonny's getting the bank manager, I think it's Mulvaney. He's trying to get him to open the safe, and there's like a secret alarm key, which I'm sure is a thing, but I never knew about it.
Yeah, it's called a spar key.
Okay.
Well, it has a longer point on it, and if you put that in, that triggers something that sends out a silent alarm.
Okay.
But if you put the regular key in it without that spar on it, it won't. It's
okay.
Just like in the bank. So yeah, that's a real thing. I don't know if they do that anymore, but
okay. But yeah, that's when you get that's when you at first it's like, okay, these guys don't know what they're doing, but when that comes up, it's like, he seems to know things he probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
But that just means like, he knows about the profession, but he's not a professional bank robber, because I don't think professional bank robbers exist anymore, unless that's what you consider like, crypto bros. That's what they are.
Yeah, it's moved more into the it's like you don't use guns, you just create a Ponzi. What it's become. Bank robbers are the blue collar, like money thieves. Like they do it in the most like you're never gonna get away with it way.
I mean, when you get the crowd later on with it, like it still works here. Like it's weird how much this can just be transplanted in today, even though this is clearly a movie from the 70s.
Yeah, and the movie right after it, Network, same thing.
Yeah.
It's like the idiot faces the crowd and the crowd loves it. I mean, something happened in 2016 in America that also proved that this still happens. I'm not going to say what it is. I'll let the listeners use their but yeah, it all transfers.
This is funny. The bank manager, like they're going into the safe, and the bank manager just makes one of the tellers get the money, which just seems like, wait, I mean, is he just like not? Is he just getting himself out of the line of fire, or what's going on here? But
yeah, I didn't quite understand. I think Sonny wanted him to do that.
Yeah,
but I don't know what that was all about.
There's only a
thing about like, well, no one would hurt women, or no one wants to hurt women.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I guess so. There's only $1,100 because they already had the afternoon pickup. So she's almost like just crying here. She's like, "There's no more money, sir."
It's like, yeah, don't shoot me or something really sad. Like, oh God.
um, Sonny says he worked at a bank, and so he's like scrutinizing like what money gets picked up. There's something about I can't remember understand here. He's like, there's something about like you don't want to empty out one of the trays because that will cause an alarm. So he like puts something underneath it. I don't know what that was. I didn't remember what that was about.
Yeah, there's a contact in those trays. It's a contact, so you never take the last $100 bill out.
Yeah.
Because if you do, it sets off a silent alarm. So he puts a piece of paper in there so the contact isn't made. Because that's like if someone comes in and sticks a gun in your face, like empty the drawer, don't hit the alarm. Well, you don't have to. Emptying the drawer. So it's like that's what that was all about.
And then like he spots some stuff where it's like, yeah, these are marked and things like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's where he said he worked in a bank. So
yeah, because as you like again, you don't know when he says things, you don't know if it's true. Because there's like one part like he says like we're Vietnam vets and like we're crazy, we'll kill everyone or something like that. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's true. And then I'm like, oh no, it's true. At least he is. He's a Vietnam vet. I don't know whether Sal is or not, but and I also don't know like what kind of action that Sonny saw, whether he was like infantry or something else. I don't know, but
yeah, he seems to have some kind of experience with weapons and thinking and stuff. So
because I didn't look up like what happened to these people after this, so I'd actually I don't know if we'll get to the end of it. I don't know. Do you have any afterwards on what happens after this?
it's pretty much what's in the movie, what it says.
Okay. Well, I don't know, like, where are they now? Like, I don't have anything of that.
Oh.
We'll keep going. Let's see. He burns the register, which I'm not sure exactly what that is.
So they can use the traveler's checks without the serialized numbers being traced.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah.
I've always heard of traveler's checks. I've never used them. Have you ever used a traveler's check?
No, I've never traveled outside the U.S. and had to spend money, but it's basically like money you can cancel.
Okay.
So it's like it's not like checks from your checkbook where there's limits. It's like it has a face value, but if you lose them or they get stolen, you just call the company and say, yeah, number 10,005 through 10,007 canceled because I lost them or whatever.
Okay.
So it's basically if you get your money stolen in hotels or by pickpockets and all the other stuff that happens.
Well, yeah, that's just something I only know from like media. I've never used it once.
Yeah, I've never actually used them either.
I don't even know if they still exist.
Probably credit cards have supplanted that.
Yeah, maybe. Howard the guard is scared, and Sonny takes the keys off of him. But actually, now you find out later on. I don't know if he's scared or if he's just having a medical issue.
That's what they said, asthma.
Yeah, but later on, he's like, yeah, he can barely stand up. It's like, all right, that's asthma. But I don't know if in this instance, if he's just scared.
I think he's an old man living on a pension.
Yeah.
Part-time job.
Well, yeah, later on they're talking about like what do they teach him at these guard schools, and he's like, I have no idea. It's
because they don't carry guns in New York.
Yeah. There's an insurance salesman across the way who's like coming over to check things out because when he burns the register, like smoke starts coming out of the front of the building.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. I don't know what the HVAC.
That seems like it's just something to move the story along. They talk about the air conditioning not working. It's like, but then it seems like they have a fan running, so just sucking the air straight out of the building. Like, oh, okay, but that just establishes.
Yeah, not necessary. This movie's good enough. You really don't have to scrutinize it that much.
This is what I gave up on the movie when I saw the fan. I was completely divorced from the reality of this whole thing.
Yeah, Sonny's trying to lock the tellers into the bank vault, but they're like, "I need to use the bathroom." It's, I forget where I wrote the slide down. It says we're having a bank robbery. I think this like there's a phone call and one of the ladies answers the phone. And she's like, "We're having a bank robbery" or something. I can't remember, but then there's another phone call. Well, they go to the bathroom and there's another lady in there, and he's like surprised by that and starts yelling. There's a lot of there's a lot of yell acting from Al Pacino, which kind of became his turn in his career, I think.
Yeah, he's good at it. He's always surprised. He's always surprised and annoyed by people. Because the teller, and I forget which one it is. I think it's pronounced Sylvia.
Sylvia,
Yeah. Because of course she's got like this Long Island accent, and she's like, "Oh, that's so and so. She's in the bathroom too long. She always does this. I didn't want you to be scared. That's why we're doing this. You know, I want to get her." And it seemed like really strange and unlikely, but.
Then Mulvaney gets another phone call, and then he looks at Sonny and says it's for him. That's a call from the cop. The bank is being surrounded. The people inside are arguing with Sonny over not having a plan. Sonny makes a threat to Ginny's husband on the phone for like. No. He thinks it's the cops on the phone, and it's one of the teller's husbands. And he's like, "I'm gonna start killing people and dropping them out in the streets." And he's like, "I want to talk to my wife." He's like, "Oh," and then like hangs up the phone. Then Sonny goes out to check the back, or he goes to the back to check out the back entrance. And then we cut to like cops are lining the roofs and blocking off the streets. Like they're just coming out of everywhere. They're just completely blocking off everything. It's just full of cops and crowds. Sal is like crouched down and defeated, and he's scared, but he's like talking about how he's like willing to kill people. It's like oh no, this isn't gonna go well.
Yeah, he suddenly becomes like Sal becomes like the Quentin Tarantino half of the Gecko brothers in From Dusk Till Dawn. It's like, we're gonna kill people, right? Right, we're gonna kill people, but he's looking at him like wide-eyed, like that's really kind of what I want to happen. Oh wow, okay. But then you realize later it's like, oh, this guy's probably got a room temperature IQ, and he has some really simple touch points he has to go to. It's like, well, if this gets bad, we just amp it up to killing people. It's like, yeah, I guess that's not going to really solve anything. It's like, no, that's solving stuff. Thinking ahead. No, it's just after this, then kill, right? Okay, I feel good on my instructions.
The killing's going to stop the voices in my head, you see?
Right. So yeah, he reminds me of one of the I forget what his name is, the Quentin Tarantino Gecko brother from Industrial Dawn, who has some amazing. I love some of the stuff between him and what's her name?
Juliette Lewis.
Yeah, when she's like says things to him that she doesn't, but he's like, yeah, okay. Such a weird. I like Robert Rodriguez's weirdness when it comes to that.
And it's a Tarantino script, so
yeah. But how it was filmed was cool. It was because they were both like into it. But anyway, back to the movie.
Here's Howard is like officially having an asthma attack or something. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, because like I don't know. I guess this stuff's been around for a while, but this is like weird. It's like, oh yeah, asthma and diabetes in the 70s. How did that work? And it's like uncomfortably, and nobody knows what the hell's going on. So
yeah.
Because I'm guessing they might have had inhalers in the 70s, but like he doesn't have one. It's not brought up. Nobody has as it being a solution. It's just like, well, I hope you don't die.
Yeah. It's his asthma. What do we do? Just let him breathe. I don't think he can. I'm not a doctor.
Sonny and Mulvaney block the door, the back door, where they just like push some kind of obstacle in its way. Here he's talking about like here's the first mention of Attica and about the cops killing like 42 people, innocent or guilty. So like this is on his mind.
Yeah.
Also uses this to his advantage because like I'm guessing this is the movie where it's famous that somebody yells Attica and not the actual incident.
Because Attica happened in like 71, 72. So that would have been fresh in everyone's minds.
Yeah.
You know what happened there, right?
I don't like. I remember it's being like a prison escaped, and then the cops like kind of come back.
Riot. It was a takeover.
Yeah,
and it was racially. There was a lot of racial subtext to it because like some groups of prisoners were not being treated the same as others, and the usual stuff that like of course that's going on. Well, Nelson Rockefeller, the governor of New York, in consultation with Richard Nixon, decided we're storming the place. They killed 40 people, 10 of which were correctional officers.
Oh, okay.
Prisoner. So it was kind of not seen as it was kind of, remember when the Russians, like when they took over the
Was that where they just gassed a place and killed?
Yeah, they gassed everyone with like fentanyl gas. And it's like, well, won't that kill everyone? Well, not if we go in and get the shots into their body quick enough. And then one doctor pointed out, it's like, you've got to know people's exact weight and stuff just to knock them out and not kill them. And the Russians, of course, are like, these are details. We're worried about It's like, yeah, they killed half the people in there. They did terrorists, but yeah, it was. Attica was a much smaller number thing of like, well, we're going to go in and get the bastard. We just watched Patton, damn it. We've got to. Nelson, don't be a coward. So yeah, that's why Attica it would have been a of the moment thing when this is what happened like 4 years before this movie came out. It was very shocking at the time.
Yeah, and I guess the milieu of things are like, don't trust Nixon. Here's another thing of like a government institution that you also can't trust. So this is why Gen X.
The fact that Nelson Rockefeller, who hated Nixon, because the Rockefeller Nixons did not, the New York Republicans did not like Nixon.
Yeah.
And the fact that he like just stuck the knife in his back, it's like, well, it's basically Dick Nixon told me. It's his fault. That was why that is included in that. I don't know if Nixon really was like sitting there with pom-poms like, go in there and kill him, but it wouldn't surprise me.
But when people say like Gen Xers like don't trust the government, like these are the parents of the Gen Xers and why they taught their children not to trust the government.
Teach the children well.
Although there's kind of a weird turn in the 80s where they try to roll that back. It's like, no, the government's the only one you can trust unless they're trying to take your money. Then they can't trust them.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what the minimum marginal tax rate is for millionaires to determine how much you should or shouldn't trust the government. Whatever literature, entertainment is out at that time. I'm not being crazy here. I'm just generally assuming things I've seen in the past. Yeah, but once the marginal tax rate got below 29% for millionaires, it's like, no, the government's your friend because they're fighting the communists. That all came back in the 80s with Reagan.
Yeah.
And then the Soviet Union collapsed, and they're like, oh, damn, who's going to be our enemy? Like, oh, liberals in America. Victory. And poor people.
Yeah. They're always the victim.
They're always the enemy.
They're the perfect victim. Nobody likes them. Yeah. And they can be anybody. You can't be racially motivated against the poor.
Yeah, you can't be turned into a Russian. You can be turned into a Russian, especially in America. Because we're the best country in the world. Don't you fucking
Nobody's got bigger bootstraps in America.
That's right.
And how can you look yourself in the mirror if you don't pull yourself by the bootstraps? And you can't do that if you don't hit rock bottom.
Right. Yeah, you can never be successful if you're not a failure.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the fact that like somebody can get you a great job. Like, don't talk about that. That's not real.
So I have that being the end of Act 1 where it's like they get in the bank, they try to rob it, and now they're surrounded by cops. That's the end of Act 1. You don't know why they're doing anything. We'll learn about that later. It's okay.
Yeah. And it seems like they're not even exactly sure.
Yeah.
Well, the people robbing the bank the cops outside seem very random.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the thing that makes
police squad and everyone's like, hut, 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 just running around. These guys are actually doing that.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing that's like makes a lot of sense, especially considering now like you have cell phones and stuff like that, like how these guys are organized to make something happen, and then once something is set in place, all communication breaks down and nobody knows what anybody is doing, and because nobody's doing something, everybody tries to do anything.
Yeah, it's like now it's my chance to shine. I'm in a vacuum of command, so therefore I'm coming. I know I'm the right guy for this movie. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that happened back then because of that. And also the fact that you're just letting the press and the public, like, within 10 feet of the door.
Yeah.
Like, come on in, guy. Like, that never happens now. Like, if somebody's waving a pistol around at a park, like, they're cordoning off, like, a 100-mile radius. Like, It's like we've created a zone of exclusion around, because I don't know if that's because of liability or just it's just not safe to have people randomly. Well, because you don't know what anyone's going to do.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to be on TikTok by go talking to the shooter or something. It's like, no.
Yeah, I remember I was coming up from work and I had to go to Lowe's, and as I was pulling in, there was like some lady that was crashed into the light at the corner. Actually, there's nobody in the car at this time. I'm like, okay,
It's
that's
just
weird.
airbags deployed, doors open. Like,
No, no airbags, but they're
Oh,
crashed into the light. I go into Lowe's, get my stuff. It's like, 15 minutes, come back out. This time there's a lady in the car and another lady coming up trying to talk to them and see what's going on. No cops. I'm like, that's weird. There probably should have been somebody out here coordinating things. Then I go to take the route back home, and then like eventually I get to an intersection, a busy intersection, and like 16 cop cars are just blocking it off. It's like, oh, that's why there's no cops down there, because they're all here. Apparently, I don't know, some steam pipe exploded, so they had to block off the whole place.
oh yeah, that probably makes sense.
But yeah, it's like, well, that's weird. I don't know what's going on here, and I guess I never will until the shows. So yeah, I don't even. That's what I heard. I don't even know if that's the problem, but anyways, they have
I like it. Like today, I was out for my walk, and now we have the fire department kind of close to our house.
Yeah,
but there's always police cars going one place or another around here. Never where I live, but always you can hear them in the distance. And then we also have the gun range. Close, like in the woods, but a couple of miles, but you can hear gunshots clearly. So I'm walking to my house and I hear boom, and then all of a sudden, like it's like 15 police cars running, full lights and sirens going somewhere. I know the two things aren't connected because I've heard this enough. It's kind of weird to like hear those things together. It's like, well, is this it? Someone finally gone crazy, or are these guys just like sighting in their guns for whatever season of killing is coming up for animals?
It's meat season again.
Yeah,
we need to put the lead in the meat.
Oh, the guys at work, man, I've been seeing pictures they're showing me. Massive deer this year. I mean, just huge. It's like, that's a deer. Look, you should field dressed a cow. It's so big. It's
corn-fed deer.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is the first year, like in a while, you can just like they restricted the number of tags.
Yeah,
because we had that chronic wasting for so long. Like you didn't want to eat half the deer you killed because they all had that wasting disease.
Yeah.
So, but now it's like, it seems like that's been like, so now you can hunt less, I guess. I don't know all the interstices. I don't go deer hunting, but there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my thing. I like the meat, but it's not like I'm not sitting around in the woods for 4 days. Stuff I want to do.
Yeah, there's better stuff I can waste my time with that'll give me fulfillment.
Yeah, I can build like models or something before I do that. That's just the way to be cold and get shot.
You ever see those videos where like the cat, they're feeding these cows corn and they're basically allergic to the corn and like they're bloated with gas and they just like shove these pipes in their stomachs and like it relieves the gas?
No, I've never seen that.
Oh, it's crazy. Because there's one where they just like shove a thing in there. It's just a tube, but it just has a hole in it, and like it releases the gas. And then there's another one where it's extra crazy, where they do that and then they light it on fire. It's just a natural flamethrower coming from a cow.
So yeah, and you're gonna eat that thing. It's got a pipe stuck out of the side of it with fire coming out. Heat up.
So yeah, Act 2, helicopters roll in. This kind of seemed like the time where it's like, man, what can't a helicopter solve? And then 20 years later or 30 years later, we learn nothing. They're cool, but they're not fast enough, and they're always dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you're glad they're there. It's like, power in the air, but it's like, well, yeah, unless one of 100 things goes wrong. Well, they're flying like a MASH helicopter too. Like they had a regular helicopter, And then they had a MASH helicopter, which I don't know what those are, but they have a very unique look to them.
Yeah, like the bubble on it, the bubble
Yeah.
canopy and stuff. Which is probably good for visibility.
Yeah.
We got the FBI shows up. We get the media shows up, which is just kind of like a shield for Sonny eventually.
FBI agent in this is Matthew Broderick's dad.
Really? Huh, okay.
James Broderick, yeah.
And
I didn't know that until I was watching the documentary about it.
Huh. And his partner is
Lance
Henriksen, which I was not expecting him to show up.
And pretty much looking the same as he did.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, he's never looked young, so that's...
No. I mean, now he's like 88, so now he's just starting to look his age now. He's been 40 years old since he was 16.
Yeah. I mean, do you know, like, the history of his career? It's fascinating.
I know there's something about him, like, wasn't he so dyslexic he never really learned to read and write?
Uh-huh.
But he could just, like...
when he would just get into film roles and wing it, and he just, like, knew how to be captivating with his presence, and, like, he got hired.
Well, there's always, like, that Henriksen thing. He's got that faraway look in his eyes.
Yeah.
It's because he's basing what you say. His next lines are going to be based on what you say, because that's how he remembered it. So it always seems like he's really like wow, he's really engaged with that actor. He's like, he's practically reading his lips so he knows what to say next. You know, it's...
I think God bless him, but I thought one of the most hilarious. This is back when I listened to almost every director commentary, but they had the director commentary for Alien versus Predator, which should have been a cool movie, but wasn't.
However,
and there's a part because he's doing the commentary. It's him and Paul W.S. Anderson, and Lance Henriksen's like, "That's great. The enemy of my enemy is my friend," not knowing that he just stole that line. He thought, "Oh, you came up with it? That's awesome." He's like, "No, I stole that, Lance. I'm sorry."
Yeah, that's from like Shakespeare or something. But
no, that's like what, Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Oh yeah, that's too, yeah.
Which is even older, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. The cops have set up shop in the barber shop, so that's kind of yeah, I like all the busy stuff the cops are doing, where there's just like, oh, is this cop holding a gun, getting ready? It's like, no, this cop's just kind of like transporting food around and getting water to everybody.
Well, I like how the cops were delivered on a bus at one point.
Yeah,
a bus full of cops.
Yeah, it's probably like reserves or something like that.
I don't know. It's just cop bus.
Yeah, because I know cops have reserves. I was like, what's that like? What's the qualifications and when do you get called in for that?
I wouldn't be a cop if you're paying me $200,000, let alone for free. Like, hey, you want to be a reserve cop? It's like, what does it pay? Oh, nothing. We just need the help. It's like,
oh, I think you'd have to. I think you'd have to pay him something. I don't know what. I don't know how you clock in there, but whatever.
Well, the New York cops are in a union, so I don't know.
Huh, okay.
Yeah, because it's like, the police and fire unions in New York, I think, are their own animal. Like, they're so big. There's more New York City cops than there are people in most cities. So it's like there's a massive undertaking.
Oh, yeah, they even have specialized precincts, because I've heard there's that show on Animal Planet called Animal Precinct. It's like, it's literally, there's so many animals in New York that they have a precinct devoted to it. It's like, that is nuts.
I'm a dog cop. Oh, your canine unit? Not exactly.
Not a canine that I have. Yeah. It's a canine that you have.
What's the biggest perp you've ever taken down? A horse. Horses running around the city.
Was he like a linebacker for the Giants? Like, no, it's a horse.
It's actually a horse. No, I'm talking about a real horse.
Oh yeah, the
criminal you've had is Billy Goat. Ready to eat my uniform.
Oh man, the people in New York had crazy animals. It's like, can you have that in New York? It's like, if you can
have that in rural Alabama, a 20-foot long python.
Yeah.
Like, what? Where do you think this is gonna go?
But if you can hide it, you can have it.
Yeah, I mean, New York's like, it's the city of obfuscation. Like, well, if no one can see it, then you're not breaking the law.
Then we get Sergeant Moretti calls up Sonny. I don't think I wrote down who this guy. This guy's interesting. He's like a World War II vet. He was like a dance instructor.
Oh,
Instructor.
Charles Durning.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
And he didn't start his career till he was like 40. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's great in this movie. And he
He's
almost
got
like kind of
Silver
disappears,
Star,
but
Bronze Star,
yeah.
of the Purple Heart with the expanded thing, which means like you were hurt bad or more than once.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has everything.
Yeah. But he's fantastic in this movie.
Well, he's very believable as that guy. You're like, oh, did they just pick a cop and say, hey, you want to be in a movie? 'Cause
Yeah.
he talks like a cop, acts like one.
Yeah, and he's like, and he has to like act against Al Pacino, so he has his own yell acting he has to do against
Yeah.
Pacino. So they're great kind of foils for each other.
Well, Charles Durning is an Irish guy, an Irish actor playing an Italian cop. Al Pacino's an Italian actor playing a Polish guy. And they're all from New York, so everyone's kind of talking the same, but they still had their own ethnic flair back then.
Yeah.
So that was.
Moretti wants a hostage as good faith. I have no idea what hostage negotiations were like at this time, but
Well, imagine a bunch of guys who fought in World War II, and it's like, hey, you're in charge of hostage. All right, hey, you losers, we're gonna be in there with like 50 guys stomping your guts out in 5 minutes. And see, that's why nowadays everyone's like smooth. It's like, yeah, whatever you want. Hey, I'm your guy. But as we see, both systems fail almost.
Yeah.
Equally. So it's like doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, Moretti doesn't want to stop anyone, and neither does the FBI.
No, he changes his approach after he realizes, oh, this guy's not to be intimidated.
Yeah.
Because he's not just a typical moron. So, yeah. But initially, he's like, why don't you give up, you son of a bitch? I'm looking right at you.
He wants hostage as good faith, so they send out Herman's who's having an asthma attack. Yeah, but really more.
And then they. And the cops try to slap.
Yeah, because they don't tell them they're sending somebody out. They're just like, they like basically tackle him, put him on a car, or put cuffs on him, put a gun to his head, and this is where like Sonny comes out, like, hey, what are you doing? He's one of the hostages. And this is where Moretti like figures this out, and he figures like, what are you idiots doing? And it's like, oh yeah, this still happens.
Oh yeah, he's a black guy. He must be one of the bad guys.
Yeah, they put a gun in his face and everything, and then they walk him out of there. Even though after they've made a mistake, nobody takes the cuffs off him. It's like, well, I'm not. That's taking too much time. Just get him out of here.
Yeah.
No, you don't see anybody administer any kind of like.
Yeah,
like
he's not
healthcare.
taken to the ambulance. Some oxygen. It's like, yeah, we're not. He just walked that way, kind of bent over, because no one has any handcuff keys with all these cops here. So.
Moriarty apologizes and kind of like makes himself vulnerable here. This is where like he like shows like, I don't got a gun, nothing. And at this time, like Sonny's like outside walking around. There's guys on the roof with guns, which even like this is a real thing. So like this is what happened. But you figure like nowadays, like they just shoot him before the media showed up, right? But I mean the reason like Moretti's like no, don't shoot him is because there's another guy inside that's got gun on people. Like he might start shooting if we shoot this guy. So that's like the only reason like they don't just immediately execute Sonny here, I guess. So
yeah. Yeah, they just rush in if they didn't think it was going to be a bloodbath. Plus, it wouldn't be a movie if they did.
Oh, I know this is where Sonny comes out and takes a look around and sees that he's like completely surrounded by cops. Like there's like 200 cops here.
Yeah, there's like a guy with like every other parapet on the roof has a guy with a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
And one of them has a scope that's like this long. I don't know what museum for a movie prop. It's like some Quigley Down Under scope. Yeah. He's gonna lob it in from 2,000 yards.
It's like some scope from like a German rifle in World War I or something. It's like, oh, this is
yeah.
the best technology we have.
Yes, this scope costs more than 15 of these guns. You'd shoot it 3 times before you have to take it apart and rebuild it.
Here, Moretti's trying to like convince Sonny that's like, yeah, you're not gonna do any time at all. It's like, you're good. In 5 years you'll be out, which I think is what actually happened.
Yeah, well, he got sentenced to 20, but he was out in 5 years.
Yeah. But Sonny's talking about, no, I'm gonna get way more than that. This is a federal crime. Like, there's no way I'm doing 5 years. So, here's where Sonny starts yelling Attica, and it like riles up the crowd against the cops. And it's like, I guess that's smart. So if that's, because now you can't. Now you're not just fighting Sonny. Now you have to fight the crowd that doesn't like you. So you have to be more careful. Also, like the TV's around. So. We cut to Sonny's mom is watching on TV, and she's wondering why he didn't ask her for the money. Then the dad's really unhappy. He's like, well, he knows he has a fool for a mother and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, these are terrible parents.
Yeah. I wonder why Sonny turned out this way.
Then we cut back, and like Sonny and Sylvia, this is Penelope Allen, like she's kind of like the head teller. She's talking with the press. Moretti and Sonny like shake hands, like saying they have a deal. And then Moretti kind of like starts grabbing Sylvia, and he's like, "Yeah, can I have another one?" You know. But here's Sylvia like rebukes Moretti. He's like, "There's my girls. I'm going back in," which is funny. Like you even hear people laugh. It's like, we're like making the cops like look like idiots. Again, and also it's like, she's a hostage, and she's just going like they're making a day of it. It's like, this is fascinating.
Yeah. This is the best thing that's happened in years. Gonna smoke some cigarettes.
They go back to the bank, and the media wants to talk to Sonny, and so he starts interviewing him on the phone. They're like, and they cut to see a live shot from the TV, and they're like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "Why am I robbing a bank? Because the money's here." Which is funny. It was like a back and
trope in other movies too, though. That line gets said a lot.
Yeah,
it's connected to this.
Then there's a back and forth about like economics and the job market. This is funny because here it's clear like the press is like, I guess like in their old ways. It's like, why don't you get a job and pull yourself by your bootstraps? It's like what job? Like, how much do you make? And when's the last time you had to get a job? Have you ever been to prison? Wouldn't you be scared of that? It's like, yeah, you don't live in a completely different world, newsman.
Yeah, he's like, look, if you want to get a good job, you got to get in the unions. I don't know anyone in the unions. Not a non-union job. And he starts yelling around the room, hey, what do you girls make a week? $100? How am I supposed to live on that?
I got a wife and 2 kids. And then he swears, and so the press hangs up, and
it's like immediately like, oh, cut the call. He said a filthy word.
Yeah.
There's a few references to filthy talk in this movie that it's like so antique.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, this is what they had to worry about.
Well, that's why it's like, the press is so old. They're still like operating as if it's the 50s. It's like, although here it's probably more of like a thing like, a swear ended up on TV. Like we're gonna get like a fine from the government. So, stop reporting the news and capitulate to the police propaganda.
As I understood, never happened unless you put it out on purpose that way.
Yeah.
It just slipped on. They did not give you a fine for that. You couldn't rebroadcast it. If you rebroadcast it later, you had to edit it out.
Yeah.
It went out live and it was a news thing and it was impromptu. You don't get dined for that, as I understand it.
Yeah, because that's how it works with like wrestling, because most wrestling, such as WWE and AEW, they broadcast live.
Yeah.
And especially in AEW crowds, like the crowds will chant swear words. So there's oftentimes there'll be something where somebody does something, and like the crowd will chant, "You fucked up," and like you can clearly hear it on the broadcast. And if you watch it later on, it'll be edited. And I know there's like, but then there's a little bit different, because then there's dialogue that the wrestlers are having on the mic. Now that they usually have like a 5-second delay, and that if one of the performers says a swear word, they have to attempt to edit that out on the 5-second delay.
Yeah.
But if the crowd yells swear words, they're not liable for that. Yeah. As far as I know.
That was always a thing. That was why, like radio, they could always run at a delay. So radio, they would fine you more, but even if that was going out live, they wouldn't. Because, like, can you imagine if something like the Hindenburg happened now? Today's people mentality today, they'd be like, "Oh, fuck!" No one would be like, oh, the humanity.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Check that out, dog. Yo, that's fucked up. And there we have it from.
Should we save them? Fuck them kids. Yeah, we have like an 8-hour delay to when I edit this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sometimes when I listen back to these, it's like, man, did I just swear every other word?
I know, we swear absolutely considerably less than when we have like an American Greed Factory. It's like,
yeah, American Greed Factory is like, we'll just set up like just the most bizarre, like, hey, what's the weirdest sexual situation you could imagine? Let's vividly talk about that.
Here's where Sonny and Sal have an aside about like them, where it's like, Sonny's like, yeah, I'm making a deal with the FBI, and then here's Sal's like, hey, you made a deal to me, you made a promise, like, we either get away clean or we kill ourselves. And then Sal's like, I can't go back to jail. We also get like Sonny gets worried by this, and also there's a phone ringing, and like Sonny picks it up, and it's some guy like creepily like telling Sonny to kill everyone.
I forgot about this. Yeah, take your bayonet, and he just hangs it up. Kill them all. You know, it's like, whoa. But I forgot. Yeah, back then, if you could get a line in, you could do that stuff.
This is also why I picked up like the FDIC placard, and like it hasn't changed. It's the same placard.
You want to cut costs, you keep your symbol the same. You don't have to reprint that.
Well, no, it's like this. It looks exactly the same, like same materials.
Federal government, man, it's all made to spec. It's like it must be this tall. It must be made out of oak. It must face to the west at all times. Well, you heard like, like the Queen's symbol, like the ER, was it? Yeah, Elizabeth Regina. For Queen Elizabeth, how that symbol's on everything in the UK.
Okay.
And the King, what's his
Charles, the new one?
Charles, yeah. Okay, he has a different symbol, but he said do not make a bunch of new stuff and replace it. As the old stuff wears out, replace it with the new stuff with my symbol, but do not replace everything in England my new symbol, because that would be a horrendous waste of time. He's the first regent to say that, though. All the other people, like, it was tradition, like, yeah, tear down the mailboxes, everything. He's like, no. Because he's like kind of one of those environmentalist guys. He's like, don't waste the time and energy to do that, because he goes, even if I lived as long as my mother, I'm only going to be here 20 more years. I don't do it.
Practical. Not what you expect from royalty.
No, sometimes like those guys aren't what you expect, and sometimes they're exactly what you expect too. So it's like, it's hit or miss.
You ever seen those like educational videos of like them training people of how like to meet the royalty, and it's like, this is a monumental waste of everyone's time and money.
It would be. I would be if I got like some kind of random thing like, would you like to meet the king of England? I'd be like, no. So intimidating. And also, most of my ancestry doesn't jibe with like, didn't do my ancestors a whole lot of good. So, as me as an American, I'm like, I have no problems, but I do have a history book that I can open up and be like, history of Ireland. Not really a lot of happy stories involving people or the representatives of the royal family. So, yeah, it's insane. It's like mental. And it's like, and their whole title and name, like, sometimes must be announced. It's like, wow. It's a whole job for somebody. Just like, that's it. I mean, I've heard like British people talk about that. Like, I'd never want to do that. It's too intimidating. There's too much to know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's,
because they make it seem like if you don't do this, you'll offend the crown, and then if you offend the crown, you'll be put to your death. And it's like, well, what if I didn't care? And they're like, that's not an option. It's like, okay, well then I'm not going to your pony show.
Yeah, I don't have to do this. Like most American presidents, like Trump just walked right in front of her. Everyone knows your back is never supposed to face the sovereign. Like even Americans like us know that. Not Trump. He's like just right out there. Hey, stop. What are you doing? Let's go look at these flowers. Or then Joe Biden will make like references to the it's something he said something about, yeah, the our country has had a close bond since 1776, and he looked and he's like, no, I'm sorry, and she's Queen Elizabeth was still alive. She started laughing. He's like, that's not the date I wanted to say. That's the last date I wanted to say. But it was funny because you just have these Freudian,
Yeah.
Because now we see them as like some of our closest allies, but it's like, no, we've had a violent revolution against these people and threw them out of the country twice.
Yeah, actually, we should be more in common with India than we should
Yeah.
be with England.
Well, actually, it's like we watched this movie. We watched the Napoleon movie, and of course, my son knows, and some other people's like, oh, we owe that guy a lot because the Napoleonic Wars kind of kept the British and the Europeans generally occupied from reclaiming their colonial holdings, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, by the time the Napoleonic Wars were over and they paid that off, like America was not we'd had the War of 1812, which wasn't a success for us, but it did kind of curb our ambitions of just like, well, we're going to conquer Canada and everything. Like that didn't end up happening. But yeah, if the British had come here in force, it would have been a whole lot different story. But by the time the Napoleonic Wars were over, I think we were essentially on our way to becoming like a global agricultural superpower anyway. So
Yeah.
it's like, we can't really invade those people anymore.
So Sonny has a plan to get a helicopter in, and then the helicopter to the airport, and then get a jet to fly out of the country. Like that's the plan. That's the new plan. And everyone is tense because they have the sense that they'll live with Sonny, but they're gonna die by Sal.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the tension between for the rest of the movie. Sal's the wild card that nobody wants to deal with.
Yeah.
But Sonny, he's cool. We can deal with Sonny. Sonny comes out to talk to Moretti, and here the crowd is cheering Sonny. So this is when this just becomes a whole media mess of stuff. It's like, this shouldn't be happening, but it is.
Yeah.
One of the teller's boyfriends like tackles Sonny. So this is out of nowhere. He's like, is this a cop? Like, who the hell is this? And find out later it's like, oh, it's Maria's boyfriend or something. And then of course
Moretti has to calm Sonny down. It's like, yeah, it wasn't us. It was a boyfriend. He's one of the Spanish. You know how they are. They get angry, they get passionate.
Sal starts to get trigger happy, but Sonny calms him down. It was especially when he saw him tackled. He's like, all right, that's it. That's the police. They made their move. They're coming in. So Sonny runs in. He's like, no, don't do anything, Sal. Don't do anything. Here's where Sonny makes his demand, where it's like every demand met, he'll give up a hostage. He also wants his wife brought to him. So, talk to them. And we cut to Angie and the kids are having McDonald's.
Yeah.
And then she sees like the news and runs. And it's weirdly cut because there's like dialogue from the next scene, but it's like they're playing this scene over top of it first. So it's kind of discordant. And then we see Angie and the kids are at home. And she's being talked to by some beat cops where she's like, I can't remember what she says. Like anytime she's on screen, she just talks forever.
Oh yeah. She can't. Well, you realize she's got some kind of like, there's something like she can only talk about herself and how everything's affecting her.
Yeah.
Like there's no like outside world to her. It's not really obvious here. And she seems like a shook up housewife with all these kids.
Yeah.
But later on it becomes a thing like, oh, you can't even get outside yourself long enough to try to save, help your husband like do the right thing.
Yeah, she's like a narcissist, but has a legitimacy to be one because she's being threatened constantly and is in disarray all the time.
Well, she's a narcissist. Like if a narcissist was just a mother living on public assistance.
Yeah.
Not like a narcissist when they're like a doctor or something where they're scary and evil and, she's more like a narcissist. Like, I can't get out of my own way. I don't know why Sonny's acting this way. I talk to him all the time, and he gets mad and he just screams at the kids like he's never screamed before.
But yeah, yeah, it's also like she's like a victim who's a narcissist, and so it's just what do you call it, a negative feedback loop? Like it just never ends.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's like it's a Mobius strip of narcissism and sadness and annoyance. She's
Yeah.
just annoying too. 'Cause she's not
Um,
really smart or interesting in any way.
yeah. I
You're
know it
just
seems like we're
lying.
being. I know it's like we're being negative here on her, but like no, she's in a bad situation, and it's hard. She can't get out of her own way, and it's hard to help her. So
Well, what's cool about this is like the actress, and this is just who they hired and how they made her look. Literally looks like she shouldn't be married to a guy that looks like Sonny. Like Sonny could do a lot better than this, and it's like, oh, okay.
yeah,
Then
they
so
bring it
it's
up
like
later
it's perfect.
on.
It's like, oh, this makes sense now. I get it. This is how it was back then, right?
Then we cut back to the bank. The air conditioning has gone out, so Sonny's gonna go down in the basement to check it out. So he has to go to like the back room, which I'm not sure if he had to like go outside to get into the basement or if there's a basement door there. Never goes into the basement.
Yeah.
um, Margaret is distressed. She's one of the older tellers because the like heat's being bad to her. The creep calls up again, but then like he just hands the phone to one of the tellers and they like prank him back.
Yeah, the tellers are like excited, like, what's he saying? And they're like, it's got big smiles on their face, and because he's like a breather, what they used to call a breather.
Yeah.
Guys that would call with, this was before caller ID and everything. Like they were impersonating sex or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when Sonny goes to the back to go to the basement, Sonny hears the cops like trying to come in through the back, and so he just fires a round off through the window, and they start moving the hostages around. Margaret faints or something because they're just like dragging her around.
And the one cop like falls off the side of the building because for some reason they're trying to run a drill through the back door, and somebody's on a rappelling rope.
Yeah. Well, they got like a rope with like just a piece of wood on it, so he's like sitting on a swing, and that's how they're like bringing him down. It's
okay.
Because he kind of falls out of the swing but holds onto the rope or something like that. So, because they don't like let him down onto the ground, they pull him back up to the roof. I don't. Here Moretti gets on a megaphone and the crowd starts mocking him every time he calls Sonny. Like they yell Sonny back at him. So it's it's just a wrestling crowd at this point.
Yeah, I mean they're just there for the show.
Yeah, he's the heel and Sonny's the good guy apparently. Sonny comes out and him and Moriarty just yell at each other like this is a great back and forth. It's like who can be angrier about not knowing what's going on?
Who's in charge? I'm not in charge. Yeah, Moretti kind of plays that. It's like, they set up and we don't talk. We have a central command, but it's not working yet. I'm not in charge. I don't know what they're doing. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Where it's just like two people admitting like, well, I'm just firing a gun in a building. Like, that is also stupid, but you're more stupid. It's one of those, like, we're just angry.
Yeah.
And when we rationalize our anger, it's like, oh, wow, this is all really dumb. But
yeah, Murray claims he knows nothing about the cops coming through the back, and I don't know whether to believe him or not. So,
yeah,
because you don't get any of the planning side from the cops in. It's just things happen, and then people say things, and it's up to you to whether that was true or not. So,
yeah, because weirdly, like the FBI has been there from the beginning.
Yeah,
but the agent just sits in the background. Agent Sheldon is just like background furniture for like half the movie or more.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden he's in charge, and it's like, I wonder what changed. But
yeah, here already has a great line. He says, "I'll do anything I can to stop anything I can." So,
yeah, which does everything and nothing all at once.
Yep.
Which is like, I'm going to remember that line.
I think on one of the podcasts I listened to, they were talking about Friedkin and saying like him talking about movies, and he's like talking about like in the 70s you didn't have to explain everything all the time. Which is sometimes what we make fun of movies for, is like, I don't know why that happened, you didn't explain it. And it's like, well, that's up for you. Like, which I don't know if that just means like audiences are dumber now, more naive, or it's just like the bar has been is high too high now. Do you have to clear it?
No, the world is massively more complicated now, and people expect more complication in their entertainment, even.
Yeah.
Because if you look at like TV, if you look at serialized TV shows now, where it's just week after week a story, even sci-fi stuff is so much more complicated than it used to
Mm.
be. I mean, way
Yeah.
more complicated.
Yeah, that's the thing I look at because I think because a lot of stories like I think up are like a sci-fi stories, but I always think like no, I got to add something more to it. And you look at like sci-fi from the 50s, like you could just have one idea
Yeah.
and people would be amazed by it. You don't have to do any kind of like background. You don't have to like figure out what the cultural implications, what the scientific implications. You just had to have one idea and like this is awesome. And nowadays you have to do fucking everything for people to
Well,
be impressed by your sci-fi.
I mean, even like 60s Star Trek, it was still just driven by one thing.
Yeah.
It was a much more, the world building in it was unlike anything that had come before.
Yeah.
But still, the story was just like one idea for this episode. Now it's like if you're doing especially sci-fi, it's like, what? There's no multiverse. This sucks. We can't even like, oh no, we can't even have just side stories. We got to have like parallel stories for the same character happening somewhere else. Or, I'm kidding. We're not there yet, but we're heading there. So yeah.
But here, yeah, after he says, "I'll do anything I can to stop anything I can," Sonny makes a demand for food and drinks and aspirin, so they get some pizza and Coke to be delivered.
At first he wants beer, and Moretti's like,
no,
nah,
no, 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 no.
let's keep it soft. Just soft drinks. I haven't
Yeah.
heard the term soft drinks. Like, okay, that's a blast from the past.
Well, I mean, I love it because it's immediate. It's like, yeah, this is already a bad decision. Let's not add alcohol to the equation.
Throw booze into this. I can see Sylvie or Shirley or what in there. Let's have an orgy.
You only got one life to live. Sonny tells Sal that they can't land the helicopter here, so they're getting a limo. So
I love the limo in this.
the pizza guy shows up. Sonny pays for the pizza. Like Moretti's like, no, I already got it. But Sonny pays for the pizza with the bank's money, which is hilarious. And then he just starts throwing money into the crowd. So yeah, he knows how to work the crowd.
And they let the actual pizza guy go up. Like, yeah, just go to the bank robbery scene where everyone's armed and give him some pizza. And he's happy to do it.
Yeah. Well, he's got like
break dancing when he's done. He's like, I'm famous.
Yeah, he's like showing off to the crowd and full of excitement. And he's happy to meet Sonny. He's like, it's like, you're my hero. I don't know. It's like, I'm famous now. Yeah, this is like back in the day when people thought like, oh, if you were on the news, now you're a celebrity. And then like a whole career is going to take off. And now we know that getting on any kind of broadcast is just cheap and doesn't mean anything.
That's why people stand behind broadcasters and just yell the F word. Because they can become famous on TikTok or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you can still do that stuff and accidentally become famous, but like now everything's broadcast like we're currently doing now, and so now it's all cheaper because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I don't know what would like broadcast news, what like almost like hundreds of millions of people tune into that back in the day, and now it's like 1 million people tune.
Oh yeah, those like podcasts that people do in their house that gets more views than the nightly news. Not very many of those, but some do.
Yeah.
But like reputable print journalism is kind of, I think people are kind of getting back into that a little bit.
Yeah, but it almost has
stuff.
But they almost have to be like funded by the readers. Like
yeah, you have to pay for it. Yeah, you're paying for it. I mean, the journalism that I actually read, where I come up with the stuff that I misinterpret and distort through my own wild lens of personal anger and rage. Like I actually do read original stuff from something I pay for access to. So yeah, that's important.
But yeah, I mean that's basically the only way you can do it now. Because either you have to have like a benevolent billionaire that can just like, oh yeah, it's like, well, I mean, like this is a tax write-off. I'm gonna pay people so that they don't have to be beholden to advertisers for their content, which for news stuff that should be separate, but we know that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, it's like nice idea, but yeah.
But because it's a benevolent billionaire, it's like, well, then you're under his thumb now, or their thumb, or whatever. and and so now you have to like, well, let's go to the people. If we have enough people that can't advertise on the thing they pay for, then we're free from those constraints. So if you gave a Netflix subscription every month to a reputable news outlet, then we could have actually good news. But that's never going to happen.
No.
It would just turn into a podcast because it's easier to produce.
Yeah.
And then you can, and any facts you get wrong, you can just excuse it as like, well, we're just talking. We don't have our facts. We don't have a bibliography for the podcast.
Yeah, and then you're sweating it out to like trying to do that kind of journalism. You're working 18 hours a day just to write 2 paragraphs and check it and make sure it's right. And then like Alex Jones is screaming about baby eaters, and it's like, oh, he just made $100 million. Okay, I quit. What am I doing?
He made $100 million and he got sued for billions of dollars, and he seems to be doing fine somehow.
Yeah, okay. He's still like not suffering as much as he's having a party. I mean, he's gonna drop over dead like any day.
But yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. So Sonny has to grab like 5 pizza boxes, and there's like a case of Cokes underneath, and so it's awkward, and so the pizza guy gets the door for him. Although he has to go through another door, and I don't know how he get through that door. I guess maybe Sal came up and opened it up. Then we see Sonny and Miriam are playing around with an unloaded rifle. Like he's basically showing off like the rifle spinning stuff he would probably, I guess, he did in the army or something like that.
Yeah, because he's like kicking the butt and it would spin around.
Yeah.
And, yeah, doing like, and you hope it's like, is that unloaded? Are you using good safety there? Or
I mean, the magazine is out and presumably unloaded, but we don't know. Yeah, just handing the rifle to one of your captors, or no, your hostages. Sal and Sylvia are discussing smoking because like Sylvia's never smoked before, but she's like, well, might as well start for the first time. Like, I don't know if this end. And then Sal's like, this is where you kind of figure out that I think he mentioned like something religious beforehand, but here's where it's kind of like, he's like, like your body's a temple, you shouldn't smoke. And so it's like, oh, so Sal's kind of like religious and simple at the same time. So it's like,
yeah, Sal has he wants these rock solid touch points that he has to have.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to like a lot of complications about. No, if you're going down that path, never walk to the left or the right. Keep going straight. To stray is the path of madness.
Yeah, and it's like, well, aren't you robbing a bank? Isn't that wrong? And he can't comprehend him being so.
Slide back on the end. What were you saying? Just like changes his like, huh? Like acts like you weren't there a minute ago. Like, oh wow.
Well, he does have a submachine gun. He has it in the open bolt, which presumably would be how that would be fired.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's that old school stuff.
Because yeah, like, I mean, not every machine gun, but a lot of those old machine guns, they fire from the open bolt, and because what happens is the bolt goes forward, it picks up the bullet, and then it chambers it and fires it all at the same time. So to start firing the gun, the bolt has to be open. So.
I remember the first time someone handed me an Uzi. Never fired an Uzi before. And I put the magazine in, and I'm like, what the hell's going, what's wrong? Hey, something's wrong. It's like, no, it fires from that position. Like, oh, okay. Then pull the trigger and it just hang on. It was semi-auto, but it was still, it's like, huh, it's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely weird because like in most rifles, it's like, well, everything's chamber, you pull the trigger, and that's when the ka-chunk happens. Here, it's like the ka-chunk happens, and then it fires. It's a little bit of a delay, so it's weird.
Yeah. I guess in full auto, that's efficient.
Yeah.
For that era and that kind of metallurgy and that just the simple technology of just the firing pins always forward.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it definitely makes it simpler, and it's just straight blowback and stuff like that. Well, actually, I'm not sure.
But I've never experienced it full auto, so it's like
I have.
Not an Uzi.
Not an Uzi. No, I've M24 Saw or M20 M249 Saw, M240 Bravo. Those are fun.
Yeah. Civilians should be able to have those. What could go
Well, you
wrong?
can semi-auto.
Yeah. You can have a saw. They can make a saw semi-auto.
Yeah.
What would that cost? That would cost like thousands of dollars.
I think it's. I wanted to say $25,000, but I actually don't. It might be like 10 grand or something like that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think they literally had one for sale at one of the shops near us. I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah, you just have this wicked looking battlefield weapon. You're on the range and everyone's like, what's it going to do? Oh, you're expecting just, nope.
I mean, you can fire as fast as you can pull the trigger. I'm not sure if it even does open bolt. It might have to be fired closed to do semi-auto. I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't. Once the gun, any guns that are more than like $5,000, I don't even talk about them. It's like and the guns I do want that are more than that are like, oh yeah, I want like a 500 Nitro Express or something just to be stupid. But yeah, those are like, and really I don't want just anyone. I want Ernest Hemingway. So it's like, well, that's never gonna happen. So. I don't even want a big game hunt. I want to shoot at a car with like, I want it. That's my big game hunting with a Nitro Express.
I'm just checking real quick at the place to see if they still. No, they don't still have it. So that's probably You can buy one. Although they do have a Barrett there, so that's always weird. It's like, can you just buy that? It's like, sure, semi-auto.
Yeah, semi-auto.
That's all I care about.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He has a bullet with like that's got a 1 pound throw weight to it or something. It's like, yeah, that's crazy.
Let's see. Oh yeah, when we cut to outside, Moretti says he has his wife here, Sunny, and then they pull out a guy in robes out of the squad car, and they says they got him out of Bellevue, and this is where we learn that this is Leon and Leon Sunny were married in a church, and that's his wife. So he has two wives.
Now, I tell you, I remember when I saw this when I was 10 years old. It took me a long time to figure out. It's like, oh, the cops dressed up some guy like his wife. They're going to try to get him close to him, and he's going to like, aha, I'm a cop, and shoot him. That's how naive I was. Oh, it didn't work. The ruse didn't work. Because this is obviously not the woman from earlier, but they're still talking. I actually did not understand what was going on as a 9-year-old. Now, as older, I was watching it. I was like, huh, that's weird. And then I watched that, realizing this movie was in 1975, and like, that must have been wild in the theater. He must have been like, what? No way.
And it's probably even weirder. I was like, oh, this is a true story. This is what happened.
Yeah, this is a true story. If you made this up and put it in a script, the studio would be like, we can't film this. Acknowledges the existence of homosexuality, which it doesn't exist in 1975.
Yeah. And transgenderism also does not exist.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, it's like next level. I was thinking of him as a gay couple. I forgot. Yeah, there's he wants to be a woman element to this too.
Which we're probably going to get all sorts of things wrong, but we're trying, and we're also viewing this through the lens of what the movie presents to us. So,
yeah.
Which isn't necessarily like a positive one.
And also understand, I'm an elderly man, and this world doesn't make sense to me anymore. So.
Leon tells Moretti that Sonny's been trying to kill him all summer. This is hey, that's Lance Emmerson as a detective in the background. He's one of the FBI agents. But this scene's like really good. This is like Moriarty's like really good in this scene because it's like you can hear like the snickering in the background from the other cops of like, this is a situation. This is hilarious. Like just more reasons to hate this guy. Cause the cops are the bad guy here. So they hate Sonny. But like Moriarty's the only one's like, it's like, that's like generally concerned. Like, hey, Leon, tell me what your problem is and things like that. Treating them like a person, which is like not something you expect from the 70s and like a gay community thing going on.
Well, that's why you believe Moretti is a character, because it's like, whatever I have to do to navigate this situation, regardless of my personal feelings, because he does kind of project a certain sense of you can tell he's sort of like, he's like putting his hand on him, but the actor's like, he's kind of like, oh, I'm cringing to do this because this is weird. This would be weird.
Yeah.
This is like something that happens like in San Francisco back then or something.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like, it's like gay stuff was just not discussed.
I thought it was interesting. The actor that plays Leon here, like, is probably his most famous role is he's the voice actor for Jack Skellington in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's Susan Sarandon's husband?
Oh, is it? Huh? I don't know.
Or his brother. I don't know. Let me look it up. Yeah. And this role was originally supposed to be played by Lance Henriksen.
Huh, okay.
Which would have been even crazier. Yes, this was Susan Sarandon's first husband.
Huh, okay.
This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Yeah, that's good. Have you seen the latest season of Fargo?
No, I should. I want to see that.
Yeah, they use that song in there at some point. Like, what does this have to do with anything? And then actually, when it becomes Halloween, they use "Smack My Bitch Up" by Prodigy to amplify what's probably supposed to be a shootout, and then the shootout never happens. It's like, this is amazing.
Yes, the blend of music and storytelling in Fargo, the television series, has always been cool. They find some of the most obscure music sometimes. It's like, I thought only me and 4 other people knew about this. They did a lot of prog rock in like the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Like just really like off the wall stuff. It's like, I thought only a few people knew about this. Nope, the people that write Fargo know about this.
Let's see here. Leon says he went to a psychiatrist who told him that he was a woman trapped inside of a man's body, which this is a phrase. I don't know where this phrase started, but it was around in the 80s and 90s constantly as a joke, not like
it was a punchline. Yeah.
Yeah. Not like a literal diagnosis what it's presented as here.
Yeah.
And so because of this, Sonny and I decided he needed to get money for a sex change for Leon, which was going to cost $2,500.
Which I was astounded at because I immediately looked up, like, what does a sex change cost in modern money? And it's like, oh, more than my house. Like, wow.
Yeah, and it doesn't end there. You have to like constantly be doing, you have to upkeep and all this stuff.
Yeah, the physical exercise regimen to look like a woman for a man is like insane.
Yeah.
It's like you constantly have to be like doing Soul Cycle and stuff, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of work.
So yeah, Leon thought that they would never get the operation, and so they decided to kill themselves, and so they took all the drugs they had. Which here there's a line to say like uppers, downers, and like it feels like this is a line that's in a lot of other movies. I don't know if
this
it started.
This is a line from a George Carlin album.
Okay.
Uppers, downers, screamers, red.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the George Carlin line.
Okay, so it probably originated there.
Yes, it did. I recognized it. I was like, I remember this.
Moretti tries to get Leon to talk Sonny out of the situation, but like they're not doing it. Also, it like implicates that like you're an accessory here. Like the fuck I am.
Yeah. I was in the loony bin.
And they pull me. I'm still pop full of drugs, and you dragged me out of there. It's like this is not my fault. But yeah, this is like this is probably like the wildest thing where it's like I always knew Dog Day Afternoon was a bank robbery movie, and still without seeing the movie, it's like, do you know what it's about? Like it's about somebody robbing a bank for someone to get a sex change. I'm like, no, that's wild. This movie is that old, and that's the premise to it.
And it all really happened.
Yes.
What you're about to see is real. Names have been changed. It's like, no, this is a real deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we just need to have in like a translucent logo of Fargo playing with that Fargo music. Then they cut to the inside of the bank where they're watching the newsreel, and here like the press is basically just releasing all the info about Leon and Sonny getting married and their wedding ceremony. That's now it's like, well, the priest has been defrocked. It's been considered illegal, and they show Leon in their wedding dress. This all seems like totally inappropriate and released without people's like consideration or their consent. It's like, but of course, you can
But can
imagine.
you imagine the shockwaves that would send through the average like 40 to 50-year-old TV viewer in the 70s?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems because like if you think about that thing, it seems like the press is trying to get Sonny killed. Like they're trying to present him in the most bad light they can. It's like,
Yeah.
aren't you supposed to be impartial? It's like, no, we also want the bank robbery to be over. So,
Yeah, I mean, this is good, but we can't we can't run commercial free, forever because we'll lose money.
we cut to a moment where we show like cops at the airport, so they are prepping to go to the airport. So we know that's an eventual destination. We cut back to the bank. Everyone's talking about like what country they want to go to. I think this is where like this might be where he talks to Sal. And he's like, "What country you want to go?" And he says, "What does he say? Wyoming?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, it's like, no, Wyoming's not a country." Which makes it like, that's what like makes Sal like the most vulnerable. Does he not know Wyoming's another state? Is like, has he just lived here his entire life and doesn't know anything else? So that would be
He's literally lived in like an 11-mile entire life, and he's been to prison.
Yeah.
So we don't know if he's been to Rikers or Attica or upstate New York, but yeah, he's essentially, and like I said, he's a guy with a room temperature IQ who's dangerous for that reason.
Yeah.
Because he's like, well, if this doesn't work, we kill, right? Remember, we're supposed to kill. We got to kill, and it's like, yeah, but it's like, what comes after that? It's like, oh, okay.
And then also there's a thing where like I think at some point Sonny says like we're two Vietnam vets, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that Sal isn't because he's never been on an airplane. Which,
yeah.
I mean, I guess there's ways that could have happened.
Blow boat to Vietnam.
But that seems really unlikely.
All right, we're instituting a draft and we're forcing you into the service. However, if you're afraid to fly, we can put you on a cargo ship. It will take 3 weeks.
Let's see. Oh yeah, then the lights go out and everyone takes cover. Moretti demands to talk to Sonny. Then he comes out, and here's where the FBI agent Sheldon walks forward and talks to Sonny. So this is basically where like Moretti's kind of out of the movie, and Sheldon takes over because he's able to get Leon to talk, and so that's why he essentially takes over everything. Because it's like, well, the linchpin is Leon, so if whoever figures that out gets to take the lead.
Yeah.
Here Sheldon says like no more favors and wants the hostages for the limo, but like all of them for the limo. Sheldon insists on seeing the hostage, so Sonny pats Sheldon down and lets him in. Here's like every time Sonny pats somebody down, the crowd like goes like cat calls Sonny. So,
yeah.
Which you don't know if they're like mocking him or if they're like mocking the police.
Oh no, they're mocking him because there's people in the crowd were saying terrible things.
Okay.
Because when they were bringing his wife through, he was, you can delete this if you want to, but I'm just going to do it for the accent and for how people said it. They were like, what? You mean he's a queer? I mean, there were people saying that.
Yeah.
So it's, so they've instantly like now turned against him.
Yeah. I don't know.
Now they just want to see him die.
I mean, that's a lot tamer to things they want to say. So
yeah, it's just funny when people say it with that East Coast accent.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it's like, how do you drop the R from the end of that word? It's like, they'll show you how. They have a way.
Here's what like Sheldon's like. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm only gonna do that if that has to be a part of my job. And Sonny says something like, it's like, the guy that kills me, I hope he does it because he hates me, not because he's doing his job. Which is like,
I like that. That's kind of cool. Hey, if you're gonna kill me, you better hate me. Don't just make it like taking out the trash. It's going to offend me.
Sheldon goes in and he gets a look around, which you don't know if he's like being duplicitous here, where it's like, yeah, now he knows all the corners. I don't know. Sheldon does a good job of seeming like untrustworthy, but also an authority. But yeah, I guess that's what you need to be when you're an FBI agent. So,
Oh, the actor in the Matthew Broderick's dad does a great job of it because he is nonplussed by everything.
Yeah.
Like, because Al Pacino's like crazy, like manic, and this guy's just standing there like this. Okay, are you done now? Kind of that, the kind of like the Reservoir Dogs guy when the guy's begging for his life. He's like, "Are you done now? You finished? I'm gonna kill you no matter what. You tell me whatever you want. I've heard it all before. Not gonna change anything."
Yeah, because we also know that the FBI in the 70s also did crazy and fucked up things to the United States population that never should have happened. So.
Oh, yeah. If you were a black guy in the 1970s that was involved in even the most mild, like, political organization, like, hey, maybe you shouldn't, like, firebomb our parts of the city. And it's like, nope, you're going to die. These are agents of the communists, don't you know? It's like, Dick, I just don't think they want to be bombed. Like, well, no, they're communists. Trust me. This is what Hoover told me, And you got to believe Hoover, that old queen. He's got too many secrets.
They take Sheldon back out to the front door, and here Sheldon kind of whispers to Sonny, like, "Hey, you've done a good job. Nobody's got hurt. Don't worry about Sal. We'll handle him." And here it's like Sonny.
I like how Sheldon has sussed out the actual situation.
Yeah.
And very low key. It's like, we got him, you got this. And it's like we have this secret bond where it's like, I don't know if Sal's in, but it's like Sheldon's going to make this happen. And he does. You can see it. It's actually quite cool and scary.
And like, here's Sonny's like immediately taken back by this because he's like basically knows what he says is absolutely true, but he's like, I'm not going to sell out my friend. Like he came this far with me. There's no way I'm going to sell him out. And then he knows in his heart, yeah, Sal's probably got to die for this to go as best as it can. So
yeah, because he does actually care about all the other people in the bank.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't want those people to die. For Sal, it's like, wait, no, that's the next step. We have to take the next step. It's like one foot in front of the other. It's because my mind can't handle this like nuance. Not in my vocabulary.
Then Mulvaney is sweaty and collapses in a chair, which I thought immediately, just heart attack thing. But then here Sylvia brings up he's got diabetes and he needs a shot. So the cops.
Got the sugar.
Yeah, somebody said, like, get him a Coke. He's like, no, you already have a Coke. That's the problem.
Too many Cokes. Sitting on his ass at that desk.
The cops grab a doctor. Sonny pats the doctor down pretty quick and then lets him in. Then Sonny gets a call from Leon. Like, this is all an amazing scene to be, just done over the phone. So, they go through their problems in their lives and what they have with each other. And here's what Sonny just basically people like to tell Sonny their problems, and Sonny likes to think he can solve them. Which that's not when people tell you their problems, they might not want a solution, but that's not how Sonny works. If people tell him problems, he's gonna find solutions.
Yeah, there's no. That's the problem with Sonny is he makes himself into a doormat.
Yeah.
That he's not a shoulder to cry on. He's an idea man. Like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you how to do this because, again, this is like the narcissism trifecta in this movie because everyone who Sonny's involved with, his wife, his husband, is some kind of narcissist.
Yeah.
And he, too, is someone who's like, I'm the man with all the answers. No, I got this. I can figure this out. And that's like everyone's dilemma and their ultimate doom in this movie. It's like, yeah, all these people are self-absorbed. People do not want you to answer, have solutions for their problems unless they're the solutions they've dreamed up and they want to hear you say it. Because it's like, what, you don't think they've thought of this stuff too?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they haven't thought of like, I'm going to rob a bank and sex reassignment surgery because that's just crazy. But they probably thought of like, yeah, I know what my problems are. You're not helping me. But Sonny can't be a shoulder to cry on because he's got to be the guy who has the answers.
Yeah.
And he's surrounded himself with bad people because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, because
there's nothing wrong with being cold and indifferent.
Well, yeah, he's wondering because, like, you see, like, if you have like the fro guy from earlier, where he's like, okay, this is part of the friend group, and then like Sal's a part of the friend group because Leon knows Sal, and it's like, how do they know each other? Because Sal seems like nobody should know Sal.
Sal doesn't want anything. Sal is like again another bad friend of Sonny's because Sal is like Sonny's moral center. Like the next stop is kill, right? Okay, I guess. Yeah, at least you're not like coming to me with all your problems. You have a pretty simplistic worldview, and I appreciate the ease of our friendship. However, your solutions too are also like improbable and impractical.
Here, it's like hilariously, Leon is critical of Sonny picking out Algeria as a place to go.
Because then you say like they all wear hoods and stuff, and
Yeah,
some kind of weird. Yeah,
and Sonny's like, "Do you want us to go to like Denmark and Sweden?" And Leon's like you can see Leon like, "Yeah, I would love to go there."
however, I think they have an extradition treaty with them.
Sonny gets mad when he learns like the FBI and all the cops are listening in on the phone call.
Yeah, which is like strangely naive that he didn't think that.
Yeah. But yeah, you can see how desperate he was to talk to Leon because he wants Leon's approval. It's like, look what I'm doing for
he
you.
loves Leon. That's
Yeah.
what's sad. It's
Yeah.
like another person in his life who is just like, nope, I'm a defective person too.
But then here, like Sonny just blatantly says out loud, like Leon isn't involved with the bank robbery because Leon's thinking about themselves. Like the cops are telling me I'm going to jail for this, and like, so they just want to hear out loud that like no, they're not involved. So
manipulators are trying to manipulate me, so I need you to like just not roll me under the bus, and I need you to take the fall for this, so I can go back to Bellevue and smoke cigarettes and take Thorazine.
But that calms Leon down a bit, and so then they kind of have an awkward hang up where they tell each other goodbye about 40 times and then hang up.
Yeah, it's sad.
Then Sonny calls his wife Angie. Here's a constant refrain because he even said this with Leon. He calls up and he's like, "I'm dying here," but you don't know what that means. It just means he's tired. He wants to stop thinking about all these solutions for everybody. So he'd wish everybody would stop bringing problems to him. But Angie just like she does not stop talking, and then here's like, you get the more Al Pacino great yell acting where he's like, just shut up, and yelling at her, and you're like, yo, you're going too far, Sonny, but also, Angie, you need to shut the fuck up.
Sonny's anger is real. However, how he's expressing it is not good. But his anger is justified. It's just how it's coming out is bad.
But also then Angie's saying, like, you put a gun to my head. It's like, yeah, that's not good, Sonny. That doesn't... You seem more willing to put a gun to your wife's head than, like, any of the hostages you have held up, son. I actually don't think he's put a gun to anybody's head in this bank.
Yeah, no.
But has put a gun to Angie's head and Leon's head. So that's where it's like, oh yeah, Sonny's not a good guy. I mean, you know that, but he's been so like captivating at this point where it's like, okay, I'm drawn in. He's the good guy here. Angie says she won't come down because she's afraid like they'll shoot her, which he's like, you're just using that as an excuse, which she is, but also it's like yeah, she might get shot. That's not a zero possibility that happened.
Yeah.
Then we see like the doctor standing by, which he's like almost like he's almost like sheepish here, but it's like, oh god, what else went wrong? But they're saying like they need to get Mulvaney out of there, but then they go up to Mulvaney and he says he's gonna stay inside. It's also, I forget what the line is. It's a good line where he's like, I'm staying here, and it's like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to be a hero. It's like, will you shut the fuck up? Like, all I wanted to do is be left alone, and then stays with the bank robbery. So it's like this weird kind of like duplicitous thing where he's just, I want to be angry in front of you, okay? And then September Sunday goes to the front, because he lets the doctor out and he sees the crowd cheering him. They got signs. You kind of see like a kind of like a like the gay community has come down, but it's all a mix of all different kinds of people there. So, but yeah, they have signs that like saying Sunny is great. I can't remember what the signs say, but they say Sunny and stuff on it. Um,
What's that sound?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Construction for Christmas. um, oh yeah, this is where I first noticed that Carol Kane is one of the tellers. She's Ginny with the hair buns. Like I most know her from she was in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and then she's also like on Star Trek Strange New World is like the new engineer that's old that's like lived for thousands of years.
Oh, okay.
And she's like I don't know, she's had like I mean she's been in a ton of things, but like she just had like a really busy late career, and so like it's like oh my god that's her because she's in like in her 70s now. So um so Sonny gets called out again. Here at time it's his mother that's here. Um, here's where the mom mentions that he's a Vietnam vet. It's like okay, well then that thing you said was true. Um, his mom is like trying to smooth things over, but like Sonny thinks that's just gonna make everything worse, and so he has her sent home, which seems to be like the crowd doesn't like that. It's like how could you do that to your mom?
Yeah. The crowd seems really mom friendly. It's like, we all got moms. Why would you do that? But his mom, again, is just like, she's like, I wouldn't say she's manipulative. She's naive.
Yeah, well, she's also like, yeah, it's like, I don't know, yeah, it's, their relationship is weird because it seemed important that like she be at his wedding with Leon, but then wants to be far away from her at the same time.
Yeah.
um, and then we have Sonny like starts making out a will and well, with Sylvia dictating, so he wants like to leave Leon because I don't know if this is probably naive here. I don't know how this stuff worked back then, but he's expecting that when he dies, the life insurance policy is going to kick in and it's going to be 10 grand. Which I don't know if that's from his military service or what. Um, and then he wants the money for the sex change to go to Leon. He wants $5,000 to go to Angie, and then whatever's left over, it's like to be placed on his grave every like year on his birthday or something like that. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it was something weird. Yeah.
um, and he wants a military funeral. He says he's owed that, so it's like okay, we had service, so, which I don't know if they do or not. So I have that being the NVAC 2 because it's like, well, yeah, he's expecting to die. So if Act 3, the limo shows up, and like, what is this like a stretch Bronco or what is
This
this?
is a 1969 International Harvester Travelall with a
Okay.
with a limousine conversion. Now, this was one of those pre-oil crisis vehicles that died with the oil crisis.
Yeah.
It had a 400 cubic inch engine, which was huge. And this was International Harvester, so I think they were using an AMC engine, which I don't know if you remember if you know what AMC was.
American, like the Gremlin, the AMC Gremlin.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was
Yeah.
American Motors, so they were kind of they were the fourth American auto company for a while. They were like the rebels, and then International Harvester was like the fifth, but they did a lot of crossover with Jeep and AMC,
Okay.
and so the 400, I forget that engine. It's like the 400 ATX engine. It was like an engine with big displacement, but because of the carburetor setup, didn't actually produce a lot of power, but managed to use a lot of gas. So, that's the worst of everything. This was essentially a competitor to the only thing that ever competed with the Chevrolet Suburban.
Oh, okay.
So, but this was just a factory. They just had four doors. So the International Harvester and the Suburban were like the first SUVs, but this was something that only like airports and municipal services would have these in the 70s, mid 70s, because they literally got 4 miles to the gallon, and they didn't produce the amount of power that would justify that either.
Yeah, you figured they'd just give him a bus, but it's more spectacular that they have this limo here.
Well, the thing is, you can get in and out of this easily. Whereas
Yeah.
a bus, you had to walk upstairs. This, you could get in all at once.
Yeah, there's 8 doors on it, so. um, so yeah, Sonny gets out there and he's searching all over the limo. The limo driver's like, "Hey man, I'm your biggest fan" or something like that. This is crazy, man. He seems satisfied when he searches everything in the limo. He's like, "Yeah, it's all good." Then Sheldon wants Murphy to drive. That's Lance Henriksen character. But Sonny wants a limo driver, and then he thinks it's like, no, that's like reverse psychology, and then he gets Murphy to come along, and then he thinks that the limo driver is the cop. And then I think I see the limo driver behind Moretti for the rest of this, and like, was
Yeah,
he actually a
he
cop?
was actually a cop. I
Okay.
think. He was just doing like it was Snoop Dogg's grandfather, and he was doing like his jive routine back then. But actually, no, like, he's a New York cop. I mean, I don't know if he was, but I'm assuming he was.
Okay.
I'm not assuming they would have anyone like interacting with these people at this time that wasn't, some kind of cop or something.
Yeah. So he takes Murphy as the limo driver. He pats down Murphy, and then like he has him sit in like the vestibule of the bank as they like start to gather everybody up, and he tells like a distraught and tired Sal to like keep an eye on Murphy. Then they walk everyone out in like a turtle formation. This is like fun and hilarious. It's like an awkward.
It's like in 300 where
Yeah.
they have the shields up and it's like they're protecting him. When it goes to talk to the king of the Persians.
And then they kind of have a go signal, and they all hop in the limo. And Sunny leaves a hostage as per the deal, and then she kind of cries as she's happy to get out of the situation. Murphy tells Sal to like point the gun up, so he doesn't want it to like go off if they hit a bump. So he complies to that.
Which is actually like good gun safety, actually.
Yeah. Also, again with this submachine gun, the bolt is to the rear, so like that's totally possible.
Yeah, I don't know how many pounds of pressure it would take to break that trigger. Probably not a lot, or it would take a lot in that era. But this guy's sweaty. You ever held a gun for 12 hours? I'm sure you.
Yes.
I have not. And I imagine it gets old as hell.
Yeah.
Just holding a gun for 12 hours. So yeah, the chances of a mistake are very high.
The limo follows the police out of the neighborhood. There's like people yelling and throwing things at the limo. There's even like people pull up in their civilian cars and start like harassing the limo. It's like,
yeah,
that's
they like
crazy.
throw a bottle of whiskey at and break one of the windows, and the cops are just like getting behind them, hitting their sirens.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if like, wait, are they for Sonny or against Sonny? There's some people making it sound like, hey, let him go. Like, it's like, we mean the hostages or Sonny and Sal?
Yeah, I think like the homosexual community is for Sonny, but I think that the Puerto Ricans are not.
Yeah.
Because the most violent people seem like Puerto Rican people, and or Spanish people, as Reggie says. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it seems like there's a thing there. Because remember, like, even Sal was like, tell him there's not two homosexuals in the building.
Oh yeah, I forgot that.
Yeah, it's like
he's very offended.
that like they know these are not two homosexuals, one homosexual and one psychopath. But yeah, it's.
Well, yeah, what Sheldon says, yeah, I'll tell them that, which you all know, like, he doesn't care.
Yeah, I literally couldn't care less, but okay.
It seems to almost calm Sal, which is probably the moment where Sheldon's like, we gotta kill this guy.
Yeah, this guy needs a bullet between the eyes.
That's what he's worried about, so it's like, that has nothing to do with the situation.
Yeah, like this lifetime prison thing, like, not really resonating here, but yeah.
Yeah, they take the exit to go to the Kinney airport. Then they arrive at the airport. We have planes taking off and landing, which is like making everybody nervous because like they pulled the cars onto like the runway, so it's loud as hell.
Yeah, I love the sound mixing in this movie here because they really took a chance with like you can't almost hear what anyone's saying because planes are taking off, and then supposedly their plane is showing up. What kind of plane is that? Is that a 727?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
It's really loud. Whatever it is, it's like cacophonously loud.
It's got like 4 engines on it. So
yeah.
It's like a medium-sized plane.
Right. So, but it's screaming. Like they're bringing that thing in fast to park it.
Yeah, the plane taxis around. Murphy confirms that it's their plane. They elect for Maria to leave, where he says like Sylvia can go, and then Sylvia's like no, Maria, and then Maria leaves, and she's like, she hands Sal a rosary and tells him not to be scared of his first plane ride, which is like sweet and like
yeah, you can tell he's affected by it, but he's also like, oh come on, I can't deal with this because he just grabs it quickly, but you can tell he's like, the actor is like, really projecting this, like, that's so nice. I don't know how to react to this.
And here we have Murphy. He grabs a hidden gun out of like a hollowed out armrest, and then um, Sheldon grabs Sonny's rifle and like puts it into the dash, and then Murphy shoots Sal in the head, and then he points the gun at Sonny's head, and they hold him up and take him alive.
Which, of course, and everyone in the car starts screaming, which you would, because that would be so
yeah,
loud.
yes.
I mean, people don't get that in movies and stuff. It's like, oh, a gun going off in a car would be like, oh, you wouldn't hear for like 15 minutes. Like, that is so loud.
Yeah, like, and to shoot the scene, everyone would have to have something in their ears to do it, because a blank would be even louder. So.
Yeah, it's like, hey, what do you want for hearing protection? Like, just pour paraffin in my because this is gonna suck.
So yeah, they hold up Sonny, take him alive. They cuff him, they read him his rights, and they arrest him. All while it's like the airport sounds are covering everything up. The hostages.
Some really great acting by Al Pacino, though, because when Murphy has the gun to his head in the car, like, he knows Sal is dead, and the sadness that comes over him at that point, because he just kind of gives up. Like,
Yes.
Oh, it's over. But it's like the way Al Pacino projects all that is amazing in that scene, and it's just there for like a second.
Yeah, he just like breathes, then his shoulders drop, and it's just
Yeah,
explains everything.
It's really good, really well done.
The hostages are released. Sal's body is being carted away. We get titles. Sonny Wartzik is serving 20 years in federal prison. Angie Wartzik lives with her children on welfare.
Yeah, it's important to know they're on the dole. The dole people.
Leon Shermer is now a woman living in New York City, which seems like something the 70s would not be sensitive to. But here they are. And then we get credits being played over Sonny being taken away from the airport. So, which they have the credits in alphabetical order, which I'm never know how to take that. Does that mean like everybody did a great job? Nobody, this is a fair way to distribute the credits rather than doing it by importance.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I know Al Pacino is obviously the biggest guy in the film. Maybe, like, just do it alphabetically.
He's literally the only one on the poster.
That makes it fair.
So yeah, that was Dog Day Afternoon. It's like a great movie. And it all really happened. So
Joseph Wojciechowicz, the actual guy, was he served 5 years in prison and was let out. After 5 years, he lived on. His history is kind of weird. I know he became like part of the what was called the Gay Activist Alliance in the 80s, and worked with did a lot of stuff like that. Because his sentence was reduced because he pled guilty, so they didn't have to do a trial.
Oh, okay.
So that's why he got out. But he basically died in poverty.
Yeah.
He died of cancer in his mom's house when he was 60 years old.
Huh.
So he never really had any success in life. So it's kind of like, the Dog Day Afternoon was like, that's what he was most known for, and that's what happened.
So it's what America expects to happen to a what do you call that? A felon.
A felon, yeah.
Even
if he committed the crime for love, it doesn't matter because you've affected commerce.
And they've served their time. It's now time for the American punishment of never getting a job ever again.
Yeah, it's time for the second death of poverty in America, the worst first world country to be poor in. And let's see, what happened to his husband? She died relatively young. She died in 1987.
Huh.
So she was married once. Oh, she died of AIDS-related pneumonia in
Oh.
1987. Okay, yeah, that killed a lot of people in the 80s. So, and we know what happened to Sal. So, yeah, that was the. I think actually the movie was more interesting than the real story.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the story's so sad. It's like it didn't work out.
Well, now you said you watched a documentary about this. I don't know if there was any more nuggets from that you wanted to express here.
Well, this movie was actually very close. A lot of like shot-for-shot remakes of the scenes when Sal comes out of the bank.
Yeah.
Or Sonny, I'm sorry, when Sonny comes out of the bank, there was a lot of like, oh, like the Sidney Lumet really studied that,
Huh.
and he tried to make it seem natural. It's like, yeah, act this way, and yeah, and there were some interesting things because they had a bunch of different actors from a bunch of different genres and areas of the country, and they did not try to do any accents or anything. They were just like, act like you act.
Huh.
So that created, that was kind of interesting for some people.
Yeah, I definitely know this is a movie that actors like to reference. So it seems like it was like an actor's movie. It's like, yeah, they just it wasn't about necessarily about like the execution of the plot. It was about actors acting.
Yeah, Sidney Lumet kind of let the actors go wild. He spent a lot of his time doing crowd control because most of that crowd, they were not extras. They were just people from that part of the city.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you want to come down here and do this? Fine, but they weren't trained to like follow direction or whatever. So he had to correct a lot of people. They had a lot of actual cops. And they're like, don't have your guns out. Don't have your guns. There was a lot of pictures of Sidney Lumet like, put your fucking guns away. We're doing a scene now. And they weren't real guns. They were rubber guns. But they were like, yeah, put them away. That's not the scene we're doing. So Sidney Lumet did a lot of crowd control in the making of this movie. And so the actors were kind of allowed to like, yeah, embrace the characters and interpret them as you would.
Yeah, I think when I read his book on movies, I think it's on like Sidney Lumet read a book about doing directing. I think this is one of those chapters he talks about like working with, what do you call those union guys?
Which ones?
The trucker ones or whatever.
Oh, the Teamsters?
Yeah, working with Teamsters because everyone's just like, oh, I hate working with Teamsters. It costs so much money and you can't tell them to do anything. And here's like Sidney, like, no, you have to work out like, because he was talking about like a guy because they had all these cars and people around and they had to park cars correctly and how to get everything to work together so those cars weren't like in the scene and all that. And so like they had a Teamster like parking the cars and he was just screwing everything up. And then like most people would be like, you just can't hit me with those people. And then Sidney Lumet just went to the Teamster union and be like, yeah, this guy's fucking up. Give me another guy. And they got him another guy and everything worked out. It's like, that's their job. Just get another guy. if they
talk their language, they understand. It's like, I don't like the way he makes me feel. Well, fuck you. It's like, oh no, he's not doing his job right. We can get you another guy. It's like, you gotta understand what you're dealing with there.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you don't. Yeah, there's ways to work with these people, not just be like, it's union. What are you gonna do? It's like,
Tommy's fucking up again. He's drunk. Get the other guy in there. Send Tommy my way. I'm gonna slap him around a little bit. We're gonna figure this out. You're messing up Lister LeMay's movie. This is Hollywood. What are you doing? You're gonna think we're a bunch of assholes out.
Yeah, the worst insult a New Yorker could get. They're gonna think we're a bunch of assholes.
Well, yeah.
Nobody wants that.
I don't know if I do New York or Boston accents. I can't.
I lose it all the time.
I drift because I've had experience with both, but Boston's stuck in my mind more because they actually seemed like more hostile people than New Yorkers to me. So,
I mean, yeah, no, the only way, like, there's even this distinction because there's specific, like, a Long Island accent is a specific thing, and it's right next to New York City. It's like, what's the difference? Like, I don't know, the coffee talk routine, that's Long Island. That's like, what's Manhattan? It's like, I don't know. Hey, I'm walking here.
Well, I found out as weird about Long Island. What I found out was like, oh yeah, the hardcore Trump people. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking like Alabama. It's like, no, Long Island.
Yeah, because like if you look at a map of Long Island, like the further you go east, like there aren't like skyscrapers anymore. It's
No.
just like a suburban neighborhood.
Yeah, because we just think of it as us in the Midwest, where it's like wide open spaces. It's like nothing that close can be culturally different. It's like, oh yeah, it can. Look at the average income strata on a map. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, when it goes out to Long Island, it jumps off a cliff. It's like those people are
Yeah.
supporting Trump.
Yeah, nobody wants to live in Long Island.
Yeah, they just don't have a choice.
Yeah. And Staten Island's its own thing too, as well. And then Jersey's right there, and it's still its own thing.
Yeah, New Jersey's weird to me because it's like it's one of those tiny places where both Kevin Smith and Tony Soprano are from. Like, how does that happen? I don't understand that. Because they're both like working class guys. Like, one of them's a fictional character, and one of them has made himself into a fictional character. It's like, huh, interesting.
Clinically. Well, we're sitting in a prominent space containing the supercut of scenes from the imperfect collection that is the Verhoeven Effect. Nathan, what scene from this movie are we chucking into space?
Oh man, this movie was so actor driven. It's going to be really hard to just narrow this down. So, but I'm going to say the first time Sonny and Moretti talk.
Yeah.
Because that's going to establish like the most important type of relationship that exists in this movie between all the actors. Now, whether it's Moretti or Sheldon, as it becomes later, but it's like this is where all the action happens. is the characters are establishing things about themselves and each other and their relationship, but they're yelling across the street doing it. So it's like, okay, that's this movie.
And then we're on Letterboxd. You can find its username VHE. Verhoeven Effect. Just go together like that. If 1 out of 5 stars, what are we giving this movie?
I'm going to give this movie 5.
Yes, it has to be.
It's actually as good as they say it is. It's like, oh, okay. Sometimes I hear about movies like this changed everything. It's like, nah, it didn't. But yeah, this actually.
And we'll probably have to do this on a completely separate podcast. But out of all the movies that you can remember, is this one of the best movies we've done?
Yes, it has.
Do you think it's number one, or you think there might be one that you're just not thinking about that's above it?
I mean, all the ones we've done on Verhoeven Effect, or just all the ones we've done?
No, Verhoeven Effect.
Oh, I'd have to really think about that. I have a strong science fiction bias.
Yeah,
but we've done a lot of we've done a lot of like drama and stuff from earlier times. So of movies from earlier times, like, yeah, this resonates very strongly.
Yeah.
I'd have to say this is close to number 1. I mean, we haven't done Logan's Run yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of the movies don't, like, kind of the point of the podcast is to champion movies that aren't thought of as good. And so most of our movies aren't necessarily like great movies, but occasionally we throw things in there. Like we threw like Amadeus in there, but Amadeus is fine, but I don't think it's necessarily a great movie. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It is and it isn't.
It's not this.
No, this is a great movie. It's the movie people say it is. So.
Yeah. You watch this and you're like, oh yeah, no bullshit. Everything from my films. Also, this movie, I have an unfair advantage because I had to do like papers and stuff on this in like film studies 4A.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, there's a lot of things I didn't say because it's just boring and pretentious. It'd be great too, but yeah, it's there's a lot of reasons this is a great movie.
Yeah, so this is my first time I've ever actually watched it all the way through. So
yeah,
which every once in a while we sprinkle movies like that. Actually, did this get any awards? Or did it get snubbed?
Screenplay.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah, I heard the story where it's because the writer was working on A Star Is Born while he like won the Oscar and wasn't there for it or something like that.
Yeah, he was like too busy. He was like, I can't get my Oscar. I'm in the writing world.
Well, I heard I was on Action Boys. They were talking about stories they've heard from Al Pacino talking about at that time the Oscars were a fucking joke and nobody showed up to it. It's like they just went and did coke around the parties around the Oscars. They didn't actually go to the Oscars.
I could see how that would be rewarding. I would actually appreciate that as a younger man.
Well, if you like what you heard and how can it you can find us at verhoeveneffect.com. There you can we have listener support. You can support us at a monthly stipend, either 99 cents, 4.99, or 9.99. You can cancel at any time. You can rate our podcast on a platform of your choice. You can rate us whatever you want. The only thing the algorithm listens to is the highest rating. So remember, you control the algorithm. The algorithm doesn't control you. You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us at Facebook at Verhoeven Effect. You can find us on YouTube at American Greed Factory and watch both this and that show live and unedited. And you can get t-shirts at belowthecollar.com/Greed Factory for 3 more weeks.
Yeah. Hurry up and get it in. It'll be by Christmas, but you gotta do it.
Or it won't. The last time you can put an order in is on 31st, but when it gets to you, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the excitement of it all. It's like flying a plane where the windows are blacked out and you're just reading a map. It's like, are we going to reach our destination or slam into a mountain? It's like, we don't know, but.
And you'll get angry that you spent $20 on a t-shirt that then cost $10 to ship. But remember, I only get $5 of that. So
yeah, don't act like we're like cornering the market at 90% profit on this. Believe me, we're not. We're not tycoons.
And you're buying this from maybe a failing business or business idea.
It was a nice idea.
Yeah.
What if people could make shirts that they wanted exclusively, that they designed themselves? Wouldn't that be great? It's like, well, we've been through 2 of these, so apparently not.
But no, we've just been through one, but
I thought we had another one before.
No, I specifically use these because I got t-shirts all the time from this company. They sell wrestling t-shirts on a different thing, and so this was more meant for like podcasts and stuff like that. And they were in Chicago, so it's like Midwest based. It's like, all right, let's support the Midwest, and so they will still exist as the pro wrestling tees t-shirt company, and they still exist as 1 hour tees where you can get on demand printing, but as a store site for us where you can pay them to on demand print something so they don't have a warehouse full of shirts that nobody wants. That seems to be a less lucrative.
Oh no! So the part of their business that's for the podcast with 100 listeners format is like that's failing. Okay, damn. Our moment in the sun has passed.
I mean, as far as I know, yeah, because the other parts of the business still exist there. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's everything. So, goodbye, America.
Goodbye, America.